and swallow it afterwards. I present to you Karina Gould.
There's a lot going on right now. I understand these past years haven't just been hard, they've been exhausting.
Hard.
The economy, climate change, and what's going on south of the border leave all of us feeling nervous about the future. Right now, Canadians have lost faith in our party, and we have to earn back their trust. We need to rebuild our party so that we can keep building our country. We need new leadership to fight for everyday Canadians. A leader who understands what people are going through and works every day to make their lives better. A leader with a track record of standing up to bullies, and a leader who won't back down. I'm Karina Gould, and I'm running to be your next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. There are people out there tearing down Canada, saying the country is broken.
They're called liberals.
We should become American. So to them, let me tell you what Canada is. It's the local hockey rink or soccer pitch where kids shoot for their dreams. It's the maple leaf sewn on every backpack. It's the poutine and beaver tail after playing outside. It's helping your neighbors shovel their driveway after a snowstorm. We are a strong, hardworking, and caring people who do not back down from fighting for what is right. Canada can be the best place in the world to start a family, grow a business, and build a future. We are a nation of dreamers and doers, creators and innovators. It's where opportunity, empathy, and progress walk hand in hand. It's time for a new generation of leadership that understands you and is focused on you. I'm here for Canada, today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Join me so that together we can earn the trust of Canadians, build the future we want, and win the next election.
Excuse me. LPC, for those of you who don't know, stands for the Liberal Party of Canada. Okay. The diarrhea smoothie guy, that's a funny joke, but don't spam because then you'll have to get blocked. So yes, that was a diarrhea smoothie, if that's what you're talking about. That's Karina Gould announcing her intention to run for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada. The Liberal Party of Canada, which is actually supremely illiberal. And when I say, like the new boss is probably going to be worse than the old boss, I was like, Justin Trudeau, the Wicked Witch is dead. And the new boss, what do we have now? We have a choice of three, it looks like. Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, all of their names are totally, ironic or fitting. Freeland is her last name. She could not be more of a person for Freeland than you could possibly imagine. Carney, indeed, comes off as a circus carney. And Karina Gould, indeed, looks like a ghoul. Karina Gould announcing that she's running for the leadership of the party. Now, I went a little hard on her yesterday on Twitter, because she's really, really unbelievable. Oh, hold on. I've got to go just forever. Diarrhea Man is gone. I went a little hard on her yesterday on Twitter because some of you who haven't lived through this with me might not know who she is. Others who've lived through this with me know who she is, but might have forgotten. And then there's others out there who will never forget, who will never forgive, and who will continue to hold something of a line. Karina Gould was one of the idiots in Parliament who welcomed in, I don't want to mention the guy's name because the guy was as much of a victim of their stupidity as we were all victims of their stupidity. The guy, the old man on the bottom, straight up Ukrainian, fought with the Nazis in World War II, was very proud. It was the West, the SS, Luftwaffe, or something along those lines. Literally fought with the Nazis for Ukraine, fought the Soviets. These idiots, because that's Karina Gould there with her, what I described as an SHIT eating grin on her stupid face. They invite the guy on the right here, this guy right here, who looks like he eats children on the weekends, is the Speaker of the House, a liberal dude, who invited this elderly gentleman to give him a standing ovation, to give an introductory speech as to what a hero this man was, because he fought the Russians in World War II. Because now the Russians are our enemies, where they might have been our enemies back in the day, but they were our allies during World War II. The guy didn't really piece together, or maybe he did, that when you fought the Russians in World War II, You are on the axis of evil, Germany Nazi side of things. They invite this guy in. This guy, this douchebag on the right, gives him a just patting on the back, kissing him, applause for an introduction. And then they give him a standing ovation. That's Karina Gould posing with this literal Nazi. Okay, fine. People make mistakes. Karina Gould, in addition to having made that mistake, along with the rest of them, in order to, it was an innocent mistake, and don't politicize the fact that we invited a Nazi into parliament. After it was done, what did she try to do? They tried to delete it from the record. They tried to delete from official parliament history, from the record books of parliament, that they invited in, praised, and gave a standing ovation to a literal Nazi soldier, because it was freaking embarrassing, not just for the Liberals, for all of Canada on the international scale. Listen to this. Just to remind you who Karina Gould is, running for leadership of the party right now.
I would like to ask for unanimous consent to adopt the following motion.
Oh, what's the motion?
That notwithstanding any standing order, special order, or usual practice of the House, the recognition made by the Speaker of the House of an individual present in the galleries during the joint address to Parliament by His Excellency Volodymyr Zelensky be struck from the appendix of the House of Commons debates of Thursday, September 21st, 2023. This is Karina Gould. And from any House multimedia recording. Thank you, Mr.
Hey, sorry. Hey, you know what, Karina Gould, you have to change your name to Winston Smith because you want to get into the business of memory holding. This is how it's done. We'd like to delete from the record, from official parliament business, records of government, that we invited a Nazi and saluted him along with Volodymyr Zelensky when they came in to ask for more money for the fight in Ukraine.
Oh, yes, the Honourable. I guess we have to go to the, we'll ask about unanimous consent, then go to it.
Unanimous.
All those opposed to the Honourable Ministers moving the motion will please say nay.
Nay.
We don't have unanimous consent.
Get the hell out, Karina. You invite a Nazi into parliament, then try to strike from parliamentary documents the fact that you invited and applauded a Nazi when you invited him with Volodymyr Zelensky. Don't put two and two together. And now she's running for the leadership of the Liberal Party. So that wasn't even the least of the offensiveness of that stupid video that she made. Yeah. We're Canadian, eh? Canadian, it's about playing hockey on the local ice rink when they shut them down for COVID. For your freaking tyrant boss. It's about beaver tails and poutine. Oh, you're so Canadian, Karina Gould. That's if you can buy it, if they haven't frozen your bank accounts for participating in God-given rights to protest. If you never watch curling, what you hear is Harry Hard. Oh my goodness. And they have such a devious, insidiously evil smile on their faces. We need new leadership. Canadians are hurting right now. Canadians are hurting because of what you and your filthy tyrant of a boss have done to Canadians. Period. So congrats, people. I say, congrats. The new boss is going to be just as bad as the old. Oh, even the German Waffen-SS considered the all-Ukrainian SS-attached groups as too savage. Let that sink in, says the real men. So she's running for parliament. She's running for the leadership of the party. Idiots, buffoons, tyrants. Thy name is the Liberal Party of Canada. Not that the Conservatives were any better, because the Conservatives got up there and gave a standing ovation, having no idea who they were introducing. So they're just idiots. The Liberals are malicious idiots who then want to delete the evidence of their malicious idiocy. So yeah, she's running. Okay. I feel better. Maybe a little bit. Holy cow. So tonight's going to be a fun show because I know that we're going to have, in addition to Diarrhea McSpanface in Rumble, who's gone now, we're going to have people in the chat who cannot get off their, I won't say high horses, but I'm thinking it, who are convinced that they are right, who learn nothing from history, who learn nothing from the present, and then feel justified in their own righteous extrajudicial condemnation. So that's fine. But the vitriol that we're going to see in the trap, maybe I'm just blowing it out of proportion, and maybe I'm going to, maybe our crowd really is. Well, there's going to be some spam. Get ready for it, people. We've got a good show tonight. Before we even get into the show, however, because we have a sponsor, a formal sponsor, the Wellness Company. And then we're going to get into my own sponsor of myself in a second. The Wellness Company, people. And seeing what's coming now, you're going to appreciate this. Are the globalists gearing up for a pandemic scare after failing at the ballot box in November? Just weeks before President Trump's inauguration, Duty McFace Gavin Newsom declared the bird flu state of emergency, granting himself sweeping powers reminiscent of COVID-19 policies. What a convenient thing also that there's been those devastating fires, and he's signing executive orders that seem to be giving the government even more powers yet again. This comes after a severe case of H5N1 flu was reported in Louisiana. Critics like Nicholas Hulscher warned that pandemic fears may be weaponized to challenge Trump's agenda, including the nomination of RFK Jr. to lead HHS. Oh, we're going to talk about those confirmation hearings. They're beautiful. I cannot wait for RFKs. The real question, though, is there a health crisis or a power play at issue here? Last summer, Dr. Peter McCullough warned about the bird flu, linking the virus's rapid spread to gain-of-function research, now a common practice at many labs globally. McCullough urges early prevention just in case, recommending contagion emergency kit from the wellness company. His medical board-approved solution with 5 clinical life-saving medications like ivermectin, Tamiflu, a nebulizer, hydroxychloroquine. Every household can now have access to these hard-to-get medications in the event of another pandemic or plandemic or faux-demic, whatever you want to call it. Get yours today by filling out the digital intake form. Kit arrives in 1 to 2 weeks, so don't wait until the deep state puts in its plans. Get ready now. TWC, that is the wellness company, but if I want to do international code, Tango Whiskey Charlie.health/Viva. The promo code Viva gets you $32 off and free shipping. TWC.health/Viva. US residents only. So Canada, I don't even know if you're allowed to transport those things over the border. So I'm giving no transportation advice and nothing of the sort. And now, before we get going even more, I want to shamelessly plug the fact that Viva Fry, also known as David Fryhead, which is my true name, is now a published author. Everybody, I present to you Louis the Lobster. This is a kid's book. I wrote it and copyrighted it back in 2012. It's been sitting in my email for over a decade. A member of our community, whose daughter illustrated it. A member of our community is the parent of Abigail Martin, who illustrated the book, and it's magnificent. My wife put it together. I would not have been able to do it, and I would not have had the patience to do it had I had to format this into a book, go to Amazon. We're self-publishing. It's on Amazon. And I'm going to give everybody the link to it so you can go get it. Louis the Lobster Returns to the Sea. It's a straight-up kids book, based on a true story, actually, when we went to Prince Edward Island and tried to do this. Spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with the book, but lobsters cannot be returned to the sea once they've engaged in the method to be... Once they've been caught, I'm told, even if you release them to the sea, which we did, they're not long for the world after that. So at least they can enjoy, I guess, their last moments in the ocean, the land from which they were taken. Let me give this here link to the book. Shameless, but it was a lot of work. And my wife, we have a bet as to how the popularity of the book. I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be an Amazon bestseller. So check it out and check it out. Now, before we get into the show and before Barnes gets here, V6 Neon in the house says, Viva, good evening from totally batshit bonkers Britain. Can somebody ask Trump to eject Peter Mandelson from the USA? He's a cancerous WEF NWO satanic who helped change the laws to bring in and hide the rape gangs. Oh, well, I mean, that's going to come up because that's how all of this Andrew Tate stuff got started, was Ben Shapiro comparing the as of yet unconvicted, although he might be on his way to getting convicted. Then the only question is going to be, does anybody trust in the process? Andrew Tate comparing him to the rape gangs. And yeah, that's where I just realized that, holy crap, now that there's been a deal struck and the hostages released in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that was the most toxic, partisan internet debate. The Tate's is a close second. The Engaged Few says Karina Gould is the name that a Gestalt consciousness of sentient intestinal parasites assumed as part of its disguise to fool humans. Well, that's a beautiful description. And then we got Louis the Lobster Returns to the Sea by David Fryhead, available on Amazon.com. And I'll give everyone here, Louis the Lobster. There are a few other Louis the Lobster books out there that you find out afterwards. Louis the Mobster Lobster is another one. Then there was an article written in 2017 about an actual lobster named Louis, but it was Louis with an E. And they're like, oh my goodness. And then I had to make sure I copyrighted that book in 2012 so nobody can accuse me of plagiarism. Oh, I think it was the best $100 I ever spent to copyright that book. All right, now let's go over to Comedy Tube and see what's going on here. Hey, Robert Barnes. Hail Robert Barnes says, Jim tells you hi. We got Your Barmy says, is she wearing mittens? They're for children or kittens, for that matter. Okay. So while we're waiting for Barnes to get here, let me make sure I gave him the link. I'm sure I gave him the link. There was another thing that I wanted to share before we get going here. Yeah, okay. This is for a good laugh, and so that everybody understands. My kids, we watch YouTube Shorts just because I think Rumble is putting in shorts, but I hate shorts. I hate them with a passion. I hate where it pushes you. And you watch these videos of like people rescuing animals. Oh, I went to the beach and I found an octopus in a hole and I think, dude, you know that they put the octopus there in the first place. And this is not confession through projection. This is exactly why I'm so reluctant to put up rescue videos anymore, because everyone's like, you put I was driving back from my doctor's appointment last week, and I saw, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. I haven't shared the video because it's so damn sad. I'm driving back and I see a like one of those ducks with black feathers and a red face sitting on the side of the road next to what appears to be another duck, but the duck is clearly deceased. And I drive, and the duck is sitting there with his partner that just got hit by a car. And I pull over to just see it, and I walk up, and the duck is sitting there doing this like grieving shake next to the duck. And like, this is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I was like, I don't think I can bring myself to share it, because it made me sad for the rest of the day. And then people are going to say, Viva killed the duck and now he's trying to make a video out of it. And then, that's just how the internet works. But this is legit straight up hilarious. And it's the best possible guerrilla marketing for this pizza shop you can imagine. And I don't think they're going to mind me sharing it. Check this out.
Hey, can you hold this for me? Sure. Want a slice of pizza? Yeah, sure. Come inside. Come on. And are you thirsty? Yeah. Come on. Come with me to the dining room. I'll give you something to drink. Here you go, buddy. Here's your drink. Enjoy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Here's your slice, sir. All right, enjoy.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Do you remember when we first met?
Yeah, just now, right outside on the street.
Hey, you have something in your eye.
Oh, thank you.
Can you hold this box and smile?
Yo, you're going viral right now.
Really? How? Wait.
Here.
So the other day, we seen this freaking bum sweeping in front of the store. So we had no choice. We had to bring him in because he wouldn't freaking leave. We gave him a drink and a slice of pizza that had fallen on the floor. I asked him, why are you sweeping in front of my store? And he said, because I live
Right on the street.
He was so happy that I gave him the pizza. He didn't even know it fell on the floor. And he started crying. You know what? We started to like the guy. So instead of just giving him the slice that fell on the floor, I made him a fresh pie to go. Like this video so we could continue to change lives and get these bums off the street. Keep supporting Amano Pizza, guys.
Amano Pizza. I will continue supporting Amano Pizza. And by the way, because I'm an idiot, and I just got the text that apparently when I was doing the when I was reading our sponsor for the evening, it was a video and it's supposed to be playing. And this is the video that is supposed to be playing as I describe the necessity of ordering the emergency contagion kit from the wellness company, because they're going to be doing some strange stuff. And there's your man, Gavin Newsom, the man who has destroyed California through his criminal negligence. And during COVID, acted like a filthy tyrant, locking people down, expanding his own powers. But he was still going out to nice restaurants because it's only the best for them. And now they're going to talk about the H1N1 flu to try to do something similar in Trump's new next presidential 4 years, which is going to be amazing. And they're going to use it as an excuse to try to oppose RFK Jr. during the confirmation hearings. And this is Dr. McCullough, a man who has been pivotal in raising awareness. And this was supposed to be playing the wellness company people. The link is in the description, so go check them out. Now, speaking of confirmation hearings, until Barnes gets it, actually, I got to make sure that Barnes has the link. Barnes, hold on a second. You got the link, comma, right? Question mark. Who watched the confirmation hearings last week? We have our Sunday night Zoom call with our family. Nobody could believe Pam Bondi was 59 years old. And the reflex of people when they see someone who, I'm not saying attractive, healthy. I'm a married man, although as Dr. Ruth said, the second you stop finding other women attractive, you have stopped being attracted to your wife. She's objectively a very healthy looking 59-year-old woman, and everyone assumes that she had work done. And I'm saying, like, if she had work done, find the doctor, because that doctor deserves a raise and deserves to be doing that type of work on everybody. I don't think she has. I think she might just happen to be like one of those rare situations of people who are healthy and take care of themselves. But she was up for her confirmation hearings, and they were amazing. Adam Schiff is the worst person on earth, period. And tied where Mizuno, I forget her name. But when RFK is coming up for his confirmation hearings, it's going to be, to quote, or what was it, A Clockwork Orange, it's going to be supreme nastiness, what they're going to pull out for RFK Jr. They're going to go back to his, when you saw what they did with Pete Hegseth, talking about infidelity, as if Congress or the Senate, the senators are known for their loyalty and are known for not performing infidelity, as if they're known for not showing up piss drunk for votes, as if they're not known for, what was it, Ted Kennedy? As if they're not known for drunk driving, killing people, and leaving a wonderful legacy behind. They go after Hegseth for infidelity. They go after Hegseth for allegedly showing up to work drunk. What do you think they're going to do to RFK Jr.? And what do you think they're going to do to Tulsi Gabbard? So those are going to be the most phenomenal, interesting things to watch. But Pam Bondi she did great. Whether or not people are going to have faith that she's going to be what we need, we'll see. But one thing's for certain: she is the result of taking care of yourselves, eating healthy, exercising, and so on. I'm just here because I love this podcast and I want it to grow like the weeds in my closet. Huge. We are blessed to have you and appreciate all the hours of research and podcast. Cheers, brother. Thank you very much. It's an amazing thing that sometimes people love you until they hate you. And the second you deviate from what they want you to say, then you become public enemy number one. Hold on one second. Let me do this here. So by the way, tomorrow is the inauguration. There's a number of things that are in flux right now as to where it's going to be, what's going to happen, how many executive orders Trump is going to sign on day one. But the absolute, obviously, biggest news of the night, and it's a little disappointing to me because I had a bad investment that TikTok was going to remain online and not actually go down, if only for a minute. And it went freaking down. And we were like, first, by the way, I have to correct myself. My wife said, Viva, the kids are back on TikTok, right? And I'm like, I did not know that. I know what one of my kids uses. There's something called CapCut, I think. There's an editing feature, which is cool editing. But when TikTok went down, hold on one second. When TikTok went down, we're like, accept. Okay, I have to accept approval. Here we go. Get done. All right. I think Barnes is coming in right now. TikTok went down and the world was, people were in tears. And the funny thing is this, you all know Philip DeFranco? Oh, you're wearing the Hundley's shirt, Robert.
Yeah, the unstructured.locals.com.
America's
Untold Stories.
Robert Barnes, sir, how goes the battle?
Good.
Now I'm going to see if the chat's going to say, Viva, level your audio, because I have that ability now, Robert. Encryptus in our locals community is amazing, and he's been helping me behind the scenes, and I've been very, very frustrated. But how is the audio in locals? Let us know if it's level. Robert, we're obviously going to start with TikTok just because that's where the segue was. Okay, what do we have on for the menu for tonight?
We got Trump inauguration and everything related to it. What the heck is a meme coin? For a moment, Donald Trump was richer than he's ever been. Now Melania's got her own meme coin. What's that all about? The war on crypto. The similar took another stage as the government responded to the Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus' motion to dismiss. He hopefully will be on the agenda for potential pardons, as are a bunch of other January 6th defendants, despite the efforts of the useless judges of the District of Corruption in their attempt to harass and harangue them right on the eve of the inauguration. Even more reason why Trump should pardon them all, and quicker, sooner rather than later. We've got the TikTok at SCOTUS, what that means, what sort of more wuss decisions by SCOTUS this past week. That was one of several. They turned down some really important petitions for cert, including one that I filed. They just did their usual wuss routine. They did what they do well. They're the kings of the cowards. Our Supreme Court jurist. We have that on the agenda, and then we've got the Tate brothers making their circle back in the news. There's been all kinds of stories, conflicting stories as to what exactly the courts are doing or not doing. Is somebody seeking extradition? Are they not? And then there's the deep cult-like supporters and the deep cult-like haters who are out and about, busy spreading some various libels and lies, I might add. So we'll be discussing that as they try to project things that aren't actually the case. We've got tax issues on the tariffs and trade issues that are going to come up with the Trump administration. Talk about some of those executive orders. This is going to be a busy week. And whether or not the president put off the inauguration being outdoors, because there are rumors and ruminations about whether or not there are various assassination plots afoot as we speak. So tomorrow's an eventful day. I believe it's Martin Luther King Day in honor of Martin Luther King as well. Inauguration and the beginning of a whole new administration. And we had last week's various nomination battles that started last week. They'll continue into this week and the next week. So a lot of big political news and legal news as we go forward to a whole new administration, a whole new year, and hopefully
a whole new era, Robert.
Whole new era, exactly.
Okay, so we'll start off with the TikTok. Supreme Court comes out and says, I mean, we talked about it on Friday with the Hunley and the gang, the laid back law. I haven't read the decision, got the idea, the gist of it. And I mean, they basically said, the First Amendment rights nil, that this was within the powers of the legislative branch, and that it's I mean, they got around the bill of attainder because you're drinking Amos Miller's milk, aren't you?
That's exactly right. The best milk in the world. AmosMillerOrganicFarm.com. AmosMillerOrganicFarm.com.
I say full disclosure, I hate TikTok. I do actually think it's a tool of social manipulation as much as every other social media platform is, and their algorithms, and I think they're gathering information as much as I think YouTube and Facebook are as well. No, and then selling that to China as well. I loathe TikTok, but did not support this ban from the beginning. So no one's going to call me a hypocrite. I would have been, just as happy one way or the other. What do you think of the Supreme Court's decision? Like, does this
lousy decision, lazy decision by lazy jurists? So it is sad and pitiful how predictable the left has become on the bench. That this past year, other than actually Jackson in a few cases, Sotomayor maybe once or twice, but for the most part, Democratic judges now just vote according to whoever the Democratic partisans want. So here, because this was a Biden and Democratic congressional initiative, a Biden initiative, and even Biden made a big deal about trying to pretend he's Eisenhower, warning about the military-industrial complex. So in his delusion, he goes, but he's either Eisenhower or he's Kennedy. You don't know which one he is on any given day, even though information is flowing out that for the last year, high-ranking media members knew about all of how Biden had completely lost it and covered it up and hid it for as long as they could. Extraordinary scandal, including involving Larry Sabato at the University of Virginia, who does his crystal ball, which manages to always be broken and wrong for the last several election cycles. But in that context, but Biden comes out and says, whatever you do, we got to worry about the tech industrial complex. And there is something to worry about, but it's the ones he's in bed with, not the ones he's going after. So 9-0 Supreme Court, what do they say? They say that it's okay to completely shut down a platform for speech as long as there might be reasonable national security concerns. And because there's so many people that on the right that are obsessed with China, and then the deserved criticism of big tech and big tech monopolies in general, too many people on the right have not paid enough attention to this. Trump, to his credit, was always opposed to the TikTok ban. Robert Kennedy, to his credit, was also opposed to the TikTok ban. But unfortunately, what happened is politically, all the 6 conservatives went along with the 3 conservatives, the 3 institutionalists, and the 3 liberals went along with the Biden administration. And there's all kinds of problems with the law. If the law was limited to saying you can't share this information with China, just write that law. That's that simple. That's not what they did. They're using this as a precedent to try to say we can shut down any speech platform anytime we want. All we got to do is say we might have national security concerns, because they didn't document the national security concerns. The Supreme Court acknowledged in the decision there was no evidence of what they were suggesting had necessarily taken place at scale, private information of individuals being shared without their knowledge or consent to the government of China, which was the purported pretext and predicate for this ban on TikTok. If you dig into it, they could ban Rumble on these grounds. So this was not a good decision at all. Not a good action at all.
If I may pause you there, they could ban Twitter or X for similar reasons. Now, I do want to say one thing, because all you
have to have is any individual be associated with the tech platform that is otherwise associated at any level with any foreign person that the politicians identify as adversarial to them. I mean, you read the language of the law, as Thomas Massey pointed out, it's ridiculously vague. It's like if you wanted to, Rand Paul, same point. If you wanted this narrow focus like they're claiming, we're really worried that Americans don't know their information is being secretly shared with a foreign intelligence apparatus. Well, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Google have been doing that with the Five Eyes now for a half a decade. So it's totally bogus that they weren't concerned about China having access to this information. China has 100 other ways to get. They were worried about that. Why aren't they worried about China buying up our farms? Why aren't they worried about China owning our medical supply chain?
And not just that, is that even if you ban TikTok on this basis, the American companies still collect that data and then sell it to China.
Yes, of course. No, it's out there. Am I against what big tech is doing? Absolutely. Do I think the solution is to start banning people's speech? No, it isn't. And this was a weak decision by a weak court. Conservatives got compromised because of their dislike of TikTok and their dislike of China. Understandable, but that is not a pretext to start eliminating speech in America. And as many of the TikTok supporters have pointed out, this escalated towards, by the way, the same Supreme Court would have gone the other way if Trump had been the one to issue the ban. Just go back and look when Trump was looking at banning TikTok until these issues were resolved. All of a sudden, everybody was like, no, that's clearly illegal, unconstitutional.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I had it in the backdrop ready to play. I don't want anybody saying, Viva and Barnes ignored the montage of Trump saying he was going to. I'm not playing the whole thing. I'll play 30 seconds. You can listen to this, and if you have half a brain, you'll understand the distinction of what Trump is saying here and not saying here versus what he's saying now.
When I wanted to disable TikTok 3 years ago, I was met with opposition from rhinos, Democrats, and everyone else. They actually went to court in an effort to stop me.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
We're looking at maybe
some other things.
Just some other things.
But a lot of things are happening. So we'll see what happens. But we are looking at a lot of alternatives with respect to TikTok. We gave them until September 15th. After that, they got to close shop. Okay, that's TikTok. We're looking at TikTok. We're thinking about making a decision. We're going to be watching the hearings today very closely.
I'll pause it there, because I mean, you get the gist. We're looking at it. There's an issue which everyone acknowledges, and what Trump is saying right now is it'll be Americanized, and the security issues will be resolved, and we'll still maintain a platform where people make a living off of and where people get information from.
Right, correct. And and he realized that the belated effort to ban TikTok was not based on the same concerns that he had, and that they were just pretext for helping Facebook. For example, a bunch of the congressmen and senators, I'm sure Biden-connected parties, have made huge investments into Meta and Facebook because Facebook is considered the prime beneficiary and the principal competitor of Facebook and Instagram with TikTok. And again, I've been a critic of TikTok from very early on. It's manipulation of people. We've documented cases where TikTok helped lead to kids committing suicide. I mean, all kinds of horrendous events. We'll probably have to edit that word out. I'm gonna get another email tomorrow, Robert. Viva, we're concerned for your safety. Are you? Yeah, exactly. The safety of your listeners. But yeah, it's no. I think Trump is determined to allow TikTok back up and just solve the issue of information going to a foreign country. That's the national security concern. That's what the law. I mean, to say it was. There's that it's narrowly tailored to ban TikTok to solve the problem of information going overseas. Why can't you just ban the information from being transmitted overseas? You want to know why? Because as you pointed out, the other companies are already doing it, and they don't want that to be against the law. This was solely to punish TikTok for allowing pro-China and, most importantly, anti-Israel language and rhetoric all over the intelligence operatives were annoyed that they don't have a monopoly on this information because U.S. intelligence agencies have backdoors into Facebook, into Instagram, into Google, into YouTube. Probably not anymore with Twitter,
but not Telegram.
Yes, they don't with Telegram, but Telegram even loosened up its principles about what it will share after the French locked them up. That's what this is about. This is about intelligence agencies being able to, Western intelligence agencies being able to access this data and information whenever they want. I mean, right now this information goes through Larry Ellison at Oracle. That's who's providing the support, as far as I know, to TikTok. I mean, Oracle has deep U.S. intelligence ties, so they're not China. They're not a Chinese front at all. So it was what conservatives should be worried about is anytime you're embracing banning speech, second guess why you're doing it. Second guess whether that's a good idea, and it just almost never is. But because they think, oh, it's going to hurt my political opponents, woohoo! That's probably not what's going to happen. So now I think TikTok will be back up and going because I think Trump doesn't want it to be banned. TikTok was a very effective platform whereby his campaign was able to reach people at extraordinary levels, and so he saw through what they were doing. He was like, "Oh, you're just taking my old ideas and you're just using it as a pretext for an ulterior agenda."
I'm thoroughly convinced the pretext is to go after Rumble and to go after Twitter the way they actually went after Telegram. Yep. And look, you might not connect the dots, but you cannot deny the timing of the TikTok ban movement with massive support for the Palestinian movement and massive critique for Israel after October 7.
Yeah, and that's when it escalated. People like Tom Cotton are deep state war whores, so you can't trust anything people like him and them say. And the point that Rubio made in his confirmation proceedings, the point that J.D. Vance has repeatedly made, he met with the vice president of China, actually, I think yesterday, as part of his incoming VP duties. His point is that we need to look at, and I thought Rubio made a very effective presentation. Richard Barris, People's Pundit Daily, did a breakdown on it, pointing out this was a radical shift for Rubio. Rubio went from a neocon, deep state, war whore advocate to being more on the Trumpish side of the equation because he sees that's where the political future is. But he pointed out that, the issue is going to be our manufacturing base, that's the issue with China. It's not a military conflict. It's what happens if we are dependent upon China for essential medicines, for essential foods, for essential energies. He goes, that's not a world we want to be in. And that's what Trump's focus has always been. Like he wants crypto based in the United States. And he's helping promote crypto by he himself promoting a meme coin. Now, CoffeeZilla and some others will probably their heads will be spinning because they don't know what to make of Trump being involved in meme coins and Melania being involved in meme coins. Meme coins are fun. They start off with the Doge coin, the famous dog image that Elon jumped on for a while. And mostly they're fun ways to introduce you to Bitcoin. Some people speculate in them because there could be sudden rushes of interest that spike the price or that drop the price. So there's people that just spend money trying to short it, just spend money trying to speculate on it. You have a lot of that there, but mostly it's a fun way to learn a little bit about being engaged with the community and understand what this blockchain technology is all about for the normies. And Trump has fully embraced it. And it's, I think it'll come back down in value. It's already started to drop. I mean,
I'm looking at the chart now. It's up 544% in one day. It started off at $7, peaked at 71, and now it's down to 39-ish. And then they're going to say, "Oh, people lost their money. It's another Hawk Tua coin." The point I got a small amount of Dogecoin just because it's fun, and if you don't, lose more than you can afford to lose, it's good, and maybe you make a little bit of money. Everybody knows this is not just highly speculative, but you're part of a movement that's going to be longer lasting. People are raising the alarms. The legality of Trump launching a meme coin.
They've officially said it's not an investment. It's for entertainment and to support Trump. And so and Trump has made clear he's going to not treat crypto as an investment, and he's not going to let the SEC harass him, and he's going to end the Department of Justice harassment that Biden administration engaged in so systemically. He understands that there's a lot of potential with crypto, not only in terms of the Trump family being able to financially benefit from it, but that, crypto challenges central bank power, and Trump wants to leverage it for America. He sees its great potential, and he wants it to be an American-based asset, American-based technology, as much as possible. Now, those of us that really embrace the true origins of Bitcoin, people like Roger Ver, colloquially known as Bitcoin Jesus, that the U.S. government's trying to lock up for 109 years based on taxes he didn't owe for a time period he wasn't a U.S. citizen, and they knew all along that he had complied with his advice of his attorneys and accountants. They lied and they hid about it. Their excuse in court, he filed a motion to dismiss Roger Ver. He's still on extradition in Spain currently, and detained there, but outside of the McAfee jail cell. But was able to file the motion to dismiss, and the government's response was fascinating. Here, we have a high-ranking DOJ official, we talked about it last week, that got caught lying about Roger Ver, said that Roger Ver had misled his accountants and attorneys and withheld information from him and not acted in compliance with him. This is because the government has to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, because reliance is a full defense here in America to tax charges. It turned out they were lying, and they got caught lying, and the actual information that they'd stolen his attorney-client communication, so they knew they were lying, and he documented how they were lying in the motion to dismiss by his counsel. And their explanation is, yeah, we can lie. We're the U.S. government. We can lie to whoever we want, whenever we want, without consequence. That's how bad this Justice Department got. I thought Julie Kelly and some others made a good point. When you see people like Merrick Garland walking out with all this almost worshipful applause, everybody who's applauding should be fired. They participated in the worst political weaponization of the Justice Department in American legal history. Everybody who was complicit in it should, at a minimum, be canned. In my view, several of them belong in behind bars. I thought Pam Bondi made a great point in her confirmation hearings about the pointing out the examples, because all the Democrats in Congress are terrified that now their allies in the bureaucratic deep state will be exposed. So they're using to say, you're not going to prosecute someone for political reasons. Can you imagine a Democrat saying, Democrats with a straight face saying, we shouldn't have a Justice Department prosecute? That's all you've done for 4 years. Well, where do you live, Democrats? But as she pointed out, here's an example of abuse. Look at Kleinsmith. Look at what happened with Kleinsmith. This guy got to walk. This guy committed perjury in one of the most important affidavits he could possibly do.
Falsified evidence, materially modified a digital email that he wasn't a party to make it say the exact opposite of what it said, that Carter Page was not an asset when he was an asset, and then submitted to a secret FISA court. I do want to bring up
allow them to spy on all kinds of people and interfere in a presidential election. It was as adversely consequential as you can imagine. And so you see it reflected, the mindset that they could respond to Roger Ver's allegations that he documented with evidence to say that's okay, that's fine. This is something they all celebrate. That's what you're saying. Way to go. Way to politically weaponize the Justice Department to go after all our adversaries.
Pause. Facial recognition. Every one of them fired. Hey, they did it for Jan 6 to prosecute them. Look at this. Like he's a hero. Like he's a war hero. He's desecrated the Constitution, desecrated the Department of Justice. A bitter, spiteful old man who was always angry that he didn't get his seat on the Supreme Court and went after his political rivals with the full force of a Stasi-like Eastern European Soviet-style government.
Absolutely. And, the same with the Defense Secretary and the Treasury Secretary. I mean, I don't know if we've had a worse cabinet. I don't know if we've had a worse administration.
What would be the close second? Because I can't.
Woodrow Wilson, because he dragged us into World War I, and what happened in World War I led to the rise of communism, fascism, socialism, the Soviet Union, the Nazis, the Mussolini and Franco, and horrendous consequences for the world. So you could make an argument that Woodrow Wilson was a worse president in terms of the consequences he had on the world.
In terms of the corruption, however.
No. The only administration that would compete would be Grant's administration. And that wasn't on Grant, but Grant brought in a lot of people that were looking to cash in on the defeated South, and who did. It did big time. Caused a lot of problems that precluded the Lincoln vision of a really reunified country, reborn in the true meaning of the Declaration of Independence, was completely sidetracked because of the scale and scope of corruption of so many officials that gave a cover to the likes of the Klan to be able to resurface and grab power, the old Southern aristocracy in the South. So so Grant, the corruption during Grant's administration was no bueno. But but I think combined, Biden may go down as the worst. He's definitely competing for the worst. And his whole administration. I mean, can you imagine you have people second guessing Robert Kennedy, who spent his life in environment and public health concerning law and learning everything about it, questioning his expertise to be at the Health and Human Services, but think that Buttigieg, because he likes trains, was qualified for the transportation secretary when this guy was I think was the worst transportation secretary we ever had, worst defense secretary we ever had, worst attorney general we ever had. So if you look at it from a whole administration perspective, I think Joe Biden's administration goes down as the worst in American history.
I'm going to bring this up because we have a new member of the vivabarneslaw.locals.com. S. Sherman85 is now a member. I think that's what it means, because it's the $100 annual enjoy the content and welcome to the community. I'm going to get to some super chats and rumble rants in a second.
Point out, Woodrow Wilson helped give us the income tax, World War I, the Federal Reserve. So yeah, he's unique in his level of bad policies that he delivered to the world, and that's the only thing that's keeping Biden close to second rather than first, is that despite his efforts to lead us into World War III, he fortunately failed.
Yep. Call me a Putin, whatever you want. Like, he was dealing with people who were more responsible and more mature than was he to avoid descending into World War III, and that rhymed. Shane Bell over on CommuTube says, to the California people whose houses survived the fires, begin to prep for the mudslides to come. It is not over. God bless.
No insurance available, making it difficult. Did you see that? I think you put a video out on Newsom's idiotic solution.
Yeah, Robert, but sometimes I feel like I might be ignorant enough that I don't even know why it's not a bad thing. But a 3-month, an executive order to prohibit unsolicited predatory offers to purchase property for 3 months. That's it. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it does.
All it does, it makes it more difficult. If you just had your house burnt down, you lost all of your life savings and heirlooms. You likely didn't have insurance because the state government didn't do its job at making sure your house didn't get burned down in the first place. Then you don't have any insurance on it because the state government refused to either take the corrective steps for safety purposes or to at least allow the insurance companies to raise rates to accommodate the higher risk. So a whole bunch of people have no insurance at all. People like Jessica Vaughn, who lives in the Palisades, has been trying to get back into the Palisades. They're not letting her in to get her own stuff from her own apartment, from her own place. And then now, if somebody smart comes along and wants to make you an offer, they can't, because it's a crime. So there's people already wanting to sell the dirt. Some people, they have no choice. They're economically up against it. Their only chance to move forward is to sell the dirt where their house once was. And that's what's now been made more difficult because by Newsom.
Now the question I had, I think that there's something called forbearance, where it's not necessarily the case that people are going to be bound to mortgage payments, property taxes while their property has been destroyed. Is that
That's another reason why some got to dump it? They can't afford to pay that with no house.
And all that it does, in my view, is in 3 months' time, they're going to be even more financially strapped and even more vulnerable to more predatorial acquisitions. Right. It's California.
It's classic. I mean, it gives you an idea of where these Democrats' policy protocols and focal point has been, and it's just an ongoing disaster there. And it's everything is symbolic of the disastrous reign that was the Joe Biden regime. That it's culminated in this disastrous fire that's been mishandled by the California Democrats and the federal Democrats, and then everything that's happened in terms of his exit and his administration. So the only thing that's hopeful is that now what is interesting is you see, as we talk about Trump's inauguration, we see already with Hamas willing to agree, and Israel willing to agree to an actual ceasefire for the first time, because they know Trump's about to come in. And Trump said there better be no hostages when I take the oath. And by golly, the Hamas apparently is committed. to making sure there's no hostages by the time Trump takes the oath. So it shows the utility of Trump's tactical approach. Trump got Netanyahu to back down. Netanyahu made all these promises because he ran into a problem with his cabinet. I think what people underappreciate is Israel's politics has radically shifted since October 7th. Mm-hmm. It's not what it was pre-October 7th. So that there's people that, that hardcore want revenge in some cases, as they see it, security in other cases, but that he actually ran into trouble getting that deal through his cabinet. So he had to say, well, don't worry. Trump said after this is done for a while, we can start back up again. I think that's Netanyahu making promises to try to get it through because he promised Trump he'd get it through, because Trump's commitment was, you guys got to get this done before I take office or there'll be adverse consequences. And you never know where those adverse consequences are going to go because it's Trump, because he's created that perception of himself that's been very effective politically. But I think now we have another national security exception to the First Amendment. That's what the Supreme, and it's a unanimous decision, which is even worse.
That's the
It's so sad that none of them had the cojones to stand up and say, hold on a second.
I can appreciate when I might have my own biases where I tend to think unanimity is not necessarily a good thing. Like when there was unanimous opposing Boris Johnson's proroguing of Parliament, I said, that's great. That just shows ideological unanimity, which is bad. But when it was unanimous slapping down the Colorado decision, I say that's good because it was so obvious. So I can appreciate my own potential bias there. The fact that not one of them came out and said, I thought I had some decent arguments. If it's a national security issue, you already have the Espionage Act. You have other mechanisms. This is a bill of attainder in that, it doesn't only target TikTok, but it mentions TikTok and its subsidiaries it's like making a law specifically to shut down one specific company. Yeah. And the ancillary benefit to the other American companies, where I don't necessarily mind it, but the only question is whether or not it's lawful. You say, like, okay, well, now we've got a corporate reason to go after another company, and we can reap the windfall, and you can have Facebook lobbying to shut down foreign governments and say, oh yeah, they're foreign companies. Say national security. I don't mind it. But then at the same time, shut down TikTok for national security issues, but then buy 5G towers and solar panels from China doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, and as like the Treasury Secretary pointed out, and others pointed out during confirmation proceedings, like they keep pretending that China's an environmentally oriented country. And it's like, if you're worried about coal, if you're worried about oil, you should be worried about China because of how much they're doing there. But that's where the focal point should be, not on not on what people are saying on TikTok. And so, and again, I have no problem with prohibiting the gathering of private information or information that should be private, or limiting what big tech can do with that information. But that should be the rule. But of course, they don't want to limit Facebook. They don't want to limit Google. They don't want to limit YouTube. They don't want to limit any of them from being able to engage in spying on the public and sharing information that the public doesn't realize is being shared, that is otherwise private information. So that's why everything about it was hypocritical and fake. And a lot of conservatives, unfortunately, just took the bait because of their prior concerns with TikTok without looking at what does this law actually do. If you're concerned about China gathering information illicitly, then ban that and create civil and criminal sanctions for that. But they didn't, because they know other companies are doing the exact same thing and they want them to keep doing it. Their objection was allowing full free speech on TikTok. That was the objection of the deep state, not the spying that all the tech companies are doing on behalf of the tech on the deep state on a daily basis.
Now, everybody get your butts on over either to Rumble or Locals, and I'm going to read the Rumble rants while you merge, because there's a bunch here. We got Cupo Sooth, and by the way, the link to Rumble is in the pinned comment. The entire podcast will be on podcast format on all those places, including Spotify. Cupo Sooth says, separate from CCP right to speak, SCOTUS already determined that we have a First Amendment right to hear speech. They didn't address that in the decision, from what I understand. Ribo94 says, was 16th Amendment ratified constitutionally? Biden tried to unilaterally declare Equal Rights Amendment ratified, which constitutionally he can't do. Trump should bring back 16th Amendment argument. I'll ask you that in a second. King of Biltong says, increase your protein intake by adding some tasty high-protein meat. Snacks. Biltong is packed with B12, zinc, iron, creatine, and more. Get some at BiltongUSA.com. Viva 10 for 10. Use code Viva for 10% off. Pinochet's helicopter tours, who I've always loved the name and need to remember what it meant. Could Trump issue Bitcoin through the Treasury, making it interest-free? Similar to the way JFK issued silver certificate notes under Executive Order 410, quadruple 10, which were also interest-free. Stick it to the Fed, Robert?
Well, yeah, he's talking about ways of creating a digital coin reserve as a supplement to the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And there's going to bring up some more of these. I hope. Oh, sorry. That was a wife targeted. This is from Tooth Fixer Alex. Wife was targeted by supervisor at the VA. Terminated. Reported to National Practitioner Databank. Went through arbitration. Virginia was excoriated by arbitrator and got VA was excoriated and got job back. Need help filing IG report. Let me just do this here. I'll screen grab that.
That's a report with the Inspector General.
Sidney Powell was messaging Doug Tenapel, I don't know who that is, regarding Mike Johnson talking to Biden and Biden not knowing what documents, programs authorized by him, which means loads of stuff done illegally revoked. Sunbeam Valley, I hope they go hard on RFK Jr. I can't wait to hear his answers. That's the thing, is that he's smarter than everyone in that room. He has stats, data, names, and receipts locked and loaded. It's going to be glorious. Then we got, this is V6 Neon. For reference, Peter Mandelson is known as the Prince of Darkness. He was Prime Minister Tony Blair's hatchet man. They Americanized the UK legal system, removed citizen rights, giving non-citizens more. Okay, and then we got that, and there was one more that just came in here. What does Biden before deadline? Oh yeah, what does he do before his deadline? And we'll answer that one over on Rumble after I give everybody the link. One more time. Locals. No, this is, sorry. Well, that's Rumble anyhow. I just called it locals. And now here is the real locals. Come on over. And Robert, I got to ask you, like some of these stats for the preemptive pardons, there seems to be some wackiness happened on Kalshi, ending on Twitter and CommuTube. The entire podcast will be up tomorrow and on.
Are we going to cover the inauguration?
You want to do that here?
I was thinking about it.
Oh, sorry. You mean like live stream tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I plan. So what is the schedule like? Because I was thinking to go live at 10 and just I'd have it throughout the day.
I thought it was like 1 o'clock early afternoon usually that he gives us I guess his speech is going to be indoors. So there have been rumors
of drones
of an attempt on his life again, and I believe that's why he's moved everything indoors in part. The other reason is a lot of Trump supporters were not eager to go back to D.C.
Yep.
After what happened last time on January 6th. Don't trust the D.C. political authorities. A whole bunch of the local police agencies around D.C. are refusing to help, which is extraordinary, with security with the event. So I think there's a lot of different. There were a lot of concerns about some sort of outdoor attack. Trump has precluded that by moving it indoors. But I assume the timing schedule has stayed the same. Poor good Logic. He finally gets his invite to the inauguration. He goes through all this hassle. He's talking to everybody under the sun to try to get invited. Those don't know, you can follow Good Logic, YouTube and Rumble. He helped bring challenges to the Trump gag order that he's still fighting out.
Logic is LAWGIC because he's from New York. Joe Neer.
Yeah, sounds like New York. Logic, So Logic. It was his good little deal. Good, smart little version there. But he finally gets it, and then as soon as he gets it, like the next day they announce, it's all going to be indoors anyway.
I got a buddy, Pantelis.
He's got a great memorial. He's got a great ticket he can put up behind him.
Oh God, I have a friend from Montreal, Pantelis, who I was supposed to go down. We were going to meet there, and then I couldn't get down there. But now, like, nothing's going to be outdoors. In order to get in, you have to have Secret Service, I think, clearance, because everybody who's going to go indoors now has to be cleared by. Am I wrong about that? Because I do.
I assume. Well, the one today, I assume you didn't have to. Just because that was the big outdoor event, that was the big arena event.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that
it might. Well, I'm stupid. It was actually just
tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be limited. It's going to be very few people that can get inside the Capitol Rotunda. Now, Reagan did do that in 1984. He did that. If Trump had thought about it enough early on, he might have why not move things down to Mar-a-Lago?
Do it Mar-a-Lago like that. You screen.
I would have gone to that inauguration.
What was I about to say? So we'll be live. We will be live. It'll just be a question of what time we go live. And I'm going to send out some links to bring in as many guests who want to come in. I'm in the talks with some people now, but it just depends on what time we go live. We're doing it. So right now we're going to go and have a little fun with Cobra Tate. on Rumble.
Yes, the one and only Andrew Tate, the Tate brothers, back in the news. And not for good reasons. All kinds of speculative theories about how anybody could defend his constitutional rights. So we'll
gonna
get into that and some of the various lies and libels that have been circulating everywhere for the last week. And
more about you than about me, Robert. I'm just friends with the enemy. All right, I'm going to end it. We're going to go over to Rumble, and everybody, if you're not coming, why not? See you there. All right, now we're done. I have not. Oh God, I just got panicked. Like maybe I ended it on every platform, and I'm just going to go over here on CommuTube and shut down the live so that people are not complaining. Looking at a
couple of the predictions made are going to cash. I said Michelle Obama would not be going to the Trump inauguration, so that bet cashed for people who made that.
Yeah, that was a big one. I got screwed on the TikTok one because I thought they would not shut it down even for a minute, but I missed it by 2 hours. Robert, preemptive pardons. I mean, what can Biden do before he leaves office now?
We just did another 2,500 commutations, so it's like he's issuing so many, they don't know which ones to cover, or how to in terms of the press and the coverage. My guess is that probably late tonight, early tomorrow, there will be some additional pardons issued, and I assume some preemptive pardons are coming. And especially because somebody leaked, I know, some congressman leaked, I think for the benefit of Biden, that there was going to be an official referral of his brother and Hunter Biden on things that might be outside of Hunter's pardon. And that definitely James Biden, Joe's brother, has not been pardoned. And so that to me was a message to Papa Joe, you better issue this pardon now on the way out the door because referrals are coming. So but my prediction would be 50% chance or better. That's about where I'd put the odds that Liz Cheney gets a pardon, James Biden, family members get a pardon, and whoever else made the right donations to the right Biden family might also get bailed out at the end. We'll see. But I can't believe there aren't more pardons coming.
I was in to say, like, you suspect he has until what, 11:59 tomorrow?
Pretty much.
Is there a formal cutoff time, or can it be to the end of day tomorrow?
I think it's once Trump is inaugurated, he's officially the president.
Okay, so and then the pardon power of Biden ceases at the moment. Right. What is the official? I don't even know. Like, I've never thought of it. What's the official moment? Like, who?
Well, he might want to throw in some. If I was Biden, I would probably throw in any Ukrainian because we know all of them are criminals. That have been receiving government money and laundering it for his family and for his other pals and allies. I would just find every Ukrainian name and add it to it. If I was in the Biden crime family cover-up crew, that would be my free recommendation and advice. Make sure to have. Zelensky was apparently begging. He wanted an invite. He was hoping to change Trump's mind about sending him packing and the Ukrainian war over, ending it. But apparently he begged everybody he knew if he could get an invite. And Trump kept saying, nah, nope, not interested. Nope, still not interested. No, that doesn't change at all. You're not there at the inauguration, pal. It's not. This isn't the Ukrainian presidential election, which they illegally and unconstitutionally canceled there in Ukraine in violation of their own laws because they're such a representative democracy. You get a look at what EU styled. Like, there's a great book called Why Nations Fail, and it does a great job refuting and rebutting a lot of the popular assumptions out there, but particularly about the critical role that giving individuals power is, and giving them economic, social, political, cultural power, that's what leads to successful nations. When you limit power to a corrupt, corrosive elite it has an extractive economy, that's what leads to disaster over time. And that's effectively what the Biden administration's protocol and approach was. But I think he'll pardon as many people as he can out the door. Trump made clear, I told people that there would be at least 100 executive orders, maybe more, day one. He said, he's like, I'm not waiting. I'm signing a whole bunch of stuff. And I hope he does. I hope he signs a bunch of executive orders to undo the damage Biden did. Apparently he's going to declare an emergency on the southern border. This is another smart political. This is where Trump is so much more alert, awake, aware than he was the first time around he came in. Because he's clearly lining up everybody. Apparently he's going to do maybe 200 or more executive orders. I hope he's going to start issuing pardons and commutations on day one. By golly, he should. D.C. courts haven't got the message. Just give it to everybody and smack those courts back to where they belong. And then third, he's going to do high profile raids and deportations. And he's going to start with big Democratic cities. He's going to start with Chicago, and Mayor Adams wants him to do it in New York, and he's going to go to New York. He's got support in New York. He's got no support in Chicago. The utility there will expose how corrupt that fat ass Governor Pritzker is. That's that guy that helped steal all his family wealth connected to the mob. That's who that dude is. And then the and the mayor, of course, who's another nut job in Chicago. So, but do some high, and that's the number one place where the gangs have recentered effort. I wrote a memo on that like 20 years ago for the old Chicago outfit boys that the guys that were featured in Casino, the movie Casino. So the Joey the Clown, Lombardo, and some other guys, they knew some people who were aware that I did politics and law, and they asked me through a mutual friend in Milwaukee if I could give. I was like, I'm not going to represent you guys. That's not my shtick. But they're like, can you tell us what's going on legally, politically? Give us some because we don't understand why we're suddenly getting targeted now. And I did an analysis, and my analysis was I thought certain key people in the Illinois politics on the Republican and Democratic side had likely cut a deal with the Sonoma cartel to take over the Chicago drug trade. And as part of the deal, they would get certain things that they wanted done politically and financially, and they would take out the Chicago outfit and then give themselves credit for taking out the last remnants of the Chicago mob. And of course, what happened after they took them out? Guess who took over the south side of Chicago? Gangs from Central America and Mexico. That's why the violence rate spiked all of a sudden and got way out of control. So Chicago is a place where also there's been a lot of complaints, predominantly from the African American community in Chicago, which, by the way, shifted in their vote patterns dramatically towards Trump. That the illegal immigration was a huge problem, huge violence problem for housing, problem for schools, problem for jobs, all the way across the board. So I think highlighting that right away is a politically genius move of Trump and shows he's really alert and aware. Do some things that the media is going to have to cover, but do all the pardons and commutations. I continue to recommend that Julian Assange be on that list, that Edward Snowden be on that list, that Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus, be on that list, that Ross Ulbricht, who he's promised he will commute the sentence of, be on that list. I hope he's, and then, so I would do it, 200 executive orders, deportation orders right away, pardon commutation of a whole bunch of people that were wrongfully targeted for political reasons or for lawfare. And last but not least, declassify. It's Martin Luther King Day. Declassify the assassination file on Martin Luther King, which will show the FBI was complicit in the assassination of Martin Luther King. Do Malcolm X. Declassify Malcolm X's files. What will it show? It will show this lawfare has an ugly history. It will show the FBI complicit in the assassination of Malcolm X. And then most consequently of all of them, completely declassify. I hope he does. He's talking about doing it right away. The John F. Kennedy assassination file and the Robert F. Kennedy assassination file. It'd be particularly useful in the RFK one because to have that file declassified that will show government complicity in the assassination of John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy while Robert Kennedy Jr. is up for nomination, I think there's a double utility to the timing of that. To remind everybody, we've had a problem with lawfare for a long time in our country, and it's just got really bad over the last 5 years, but it's been around for a while, and we need to start fixing it and kind of contextualize Trump with all of those other cases that are similar, that were politically motivated persecutions and prosecutions. And so I think we're going to have a heck of a fun week with a lot of legal news and a lot of righteous legal news. At least I'm hoping so.
Robert, I got distracted because I saw this and have to enhance it. There's no gender, there's no sex that dog can be where that is not wickedly painful, but that is hilariously cute. So the palate cleanse, I guess, before we get into the next, the dirty subject of the evening, which is the Andrew Tate who's back in the news, and it's wild. I said it. We did a Friday night spontaneous show on Viva Barnes Law. Just me and the audience, but
brief little addendum, as someone pointed out to me in chat. Also, release the list of the Epstein list and the list of the P. Diddy list. I want to see that list. It's a lot more interesting than the Andrew Tate list.
Well, that depends on who you ask, and that could have been the perfect segue because people are like, Viva, you were harder and extrajudicially condemning P. Diddy, but not Tate. That must mean because you love first. And I think the first thing is, I've never even called Tate, not Tate, P. Diddy a trafficker. I had on a number of people. We talked about it, what might be there, and even then, when we talked about it, I was like, I'm surprised that there were no allegations of underage trafficking in those charging documents, and surprised. Never accused him of being a pedophile, never accused him of being a sex trafficker, because I don't know that yet, even with Hunter Biden. Andrew Tate, the biggest mistake that I've made in this entire thing, Robert, is that when you're having a back and forth with people on Twitter, and I hadn't been following the Tate as of recently. I knew he got out of 3-month detention while they were investigating him, and I didn't know the state of the file, so I go look it up. And the first article and I'm back and forth with someone on Twitter, and I'm asking about the charges, talking about the charges, and then I look up to see what the state is, and I see, the headline says, "Not proceeding to trial." I was like, oh, so are we talking about the charges he dropped? They're like, nobody dropped the charges, and I have to go look, and like, now it's the biggest mistake ever. Viva didn't even know that the charges weren't dropped, therefore discredit everything he's ever said in perpetuity. And it made no difference in terms of what I was getting at, because the distinction I was saying is he hasn't been convicted yet, and so it's not legally proper to compare him to the UK rape gangs who had been convicted. I just thought the charge has been dropped because they put off the trial yet again, but it seems that there's a disagreement over what they put the trial off for. Some are saying it's to bring even more charges against Tate, so it makes him even more guilty. Others are saying it's because the prosecution is having a tough time building its case and continually needs to remedy its own mistakes from the past. And I honestly not sure where to go from this. All that to say, long-winded answer. There's I feel like an inorganic movement on social media to divide the so-called conservative by using this as a wedge, and an artificial one, to brand people who are not Tate supporters as Tate supporters, and to tear apart the so-called conservative MAGA right on Twitter with fabrications of people. And also, there are some people who are, chummy with Tate. I'm certainly not one of them, to try to demonize those people and discredit everything they've ever done. What's your take? And I will, we're going to steel man this. I'm going to be following the chat to see what people say. What's your take on all of this?
So first, to correct the various lies and libels that people have been out there spreading that just can't. I always get a kick at people that can't understand why I take a certain position. I have advocated for the right to bail of Jeffrey Epstein, of Sam Bankman-Fried,
Ghislaine
Maxwell, of all January 6th defendants, because I believe in bail. The first thing I can't, it was like when the Supreme Court made the TikTok decision about national security. You know what national security means to me? The security of the Constitution of the United States and the liberties of the American people. That's what national security means, not what some politician thinks in Washington, D.C., least of all those lazy jurists in black robes. So the backstory is, some people have been saying that I am Andrew Tate's lawyer. I have never been Andrew Tate's lawyer. I have, in any circumstance, in any situation, anywhere in life, I have never been Andrew Tate's lawyer. So the second was, Barnes is in business with the Tate brothers, and they try to imply, some of these folks, that it's the webcam business. Okay, I've never been in a webcam business.
Barnes, you have trouble operating your own camera from time to time. It would not be your business.
Exactly. I'm not a boomer, but I play one when it comes to technology. I was waiting for them to connect this to Joe Francis. Say, Barnes represented Girls Gone Wild guy Joe Francis, look at Tate, try to combine them all together. Of course, I only represented Francis briefly when there was judicial corruption in Florida, which there was, and in which there was a bogus tax case based on an inside informant who was secretly working for the government the whole time and fabricated the returns deliberately so that a prosecutor could make hay going after Joe Francis and wanted to build their political career on it. I've been very public at Joe Francis as the client I hated the most, but he still had the same constitutional rights as everybody else, because I care more about those constitutional rights than I do. One bad person is less likely to cause me harm than a government that doesn't respect our liberties and rights.
I was just going to ask you why, because I don't actually hear you say you don't like people very often. What was Joe Francis's issue?
Oh, he was the worst human on the planet. Luckily, because he constantly he tried to keep me in the case while also getting me out of the case. He was doing both at the same time, because the guy was. But he made public statements that allowed me to publicly defend my reputation and allowed me to say I hate the guy. If you know otherwise I would never say I hate any client, even if I did. But if you go and attack me publicly, well, now I can tell you I hate that guy. There's a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. That's another story for another day for certain. But I thought they would somehow connect the two. So my interaction with Andrew Tate was relatively limited. I met him at CPAC
2019.
In 2019, and this photo became sort of big because what happened was, so we were at the Trump Hotel. I love the Trump Hotel. It's no longer the Trump Hotel, but I loved it. When I was there, I always tip well wherever I go. I grew up as a waiter when I was little, so I was working at the time I was 10. My grandfather, when he found out that you could hire your kids and you didn't have to pay them the minimum wage, he was like, "This is the greatest thing ever." And he's like, "Let's bring them all up here. 5 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, doesn't matter. Get to work, bum." That was my dear old granddad. So I lived off of tips. That's how I survived that summer. So I always tip well because if you tip well, you get a good reputation for tipping well. People treat you real well. And Trump always hired top-notch people anyway. I've never had a bad experience at any Trump establishment or Trump place. That's why we're trying to get Mar-a-Lago for the fundraiser for 1776 Law Center, which we're going to need, by the way, that fundraiser based on some things. But that's another story for another day, too. But we'll have information, but hoping to have it at Mar-a-Lago because everything at the Trump is just Trump does everything top notch. There's no exception. That's why I love all those hotels. But so I was sort of holding court there, and they had some big cool leather chairs, and they were bringing me nice drinks and everything. Mike Cernovich came over, and so Cernovich was there.
This is Cernovich.
And so what happened was this little center became like the center of the whole place. There's Raheem Kassam. There's Will Chamberlain right there. The guy you can see bending over is
who's this? Who's this guy? Because people thought that was me. Rob.
Yeah, I know. Some of everybody's like, "Oh, look, it's Viva Fry. Look at Viva. See, they're conspiring right there at the Trump Hotel." Paul Watson. That's Paul Watson right to my right.
Wait, to your right,
yes,
this guy right here. Oh,
yeah,
Paul Joseph. Okay,
that's Paul Joseph Watson, who, by the way, is really tall. And so basically, and then that's what's his name, Ollie Alexander, over in the top right. But basically, we became like the center location because it was me and Cernovich, and we were treated well. So all of a sudden, everybody else started coming over, and it became this like central thing throughout CPAC was people hanging out with Cernovich and me at the Trump, just talking because Watson was there, and then Will Chamberlain and Raheem Kassam, and anybody who had anything interesting or fun conversation ended up concentrating where we were. Because we've been to CPAC, most of them are boring. God bless them. They're some of the most mind-numbingly boring, and they're all a bunch of cheap lobbyists looking for new ways to line their pockets. So I mostly hate the people at CPAC. God bless them. I love the old school activists, but not all the lobbyists up to co-opt everything. But so that ended up being tons of fun. Two of the people there was when I first met him was Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate. I had no idea who they were. Andrew, I had loosely some that he had been on reality TV or something, but was clearly a very sharp guy, very, very smart, very, very well spoken, both he and his brother. And they were thinking about getting more involved in politics. I didn't know about their webcam business at the time. Or I think they were out of it by that point, not sure. But I was like, okay, yeah. And so they were pitching me, and I was saying, as articulate as Andrew Tate is, I was like, you should share your political viewpoints. You got a big platform. Apparently, got a lot of people that follow you. Be more engaged at exposing the insanity of the Ukraine war that was to come. At that point, it was just sort of building up as a potential conflict, but other issues that he had particular familiarity with, having lived in the U.S., the U.K., and Romania, and Europe. What was interesting to me, he was pitching possibly investments for clients with Romania. And I was like, well, I'm familiar with Romania. And I was like, you got to worry about these people and these people and then these people in the government. He didn't know any of them, which, by the way, was a clear sign that these later allegations are likely false. Because if you're in the human trafficking business at any level, if you're in the prostitution business in Eastern Central Europe, there are certain people you deal with. They didn't know who those people even were. I knew more about the organized crime networks in Central Europe than they did. And so in fact, I was telling them that Romania was not a safe place to be. They're like, oh no, it's great. Da, da, da. And I was like, well, I have other reasons to believe otherwise. They found out the hard way. So the only other business that was I even never discussed with him was in 2020 that I couldn't get bets in the US and I couldn't fly to Europe for the election because of COVID lockdown policies. So I was like, do I know anybody in Europe who has access to some of the betting markets. And I was like, oh yeah, Tate lives in Romania. He's probably got access to that. And so reached out to him. It didn't work out. So that was it. The people have tried to take that and suggest that I was involved in the webcam. All false. Or I was his lawyer. I never have been his lawyer.
And
been his advocate. Never been his advocate. None of that. In fact, I've been very critical. I don't share the. People can do whatever they want, but the webcam business is not a business I would personally choose to invest in. And I've been critical of his belief. I don't agree with. If anybody wants to know why Ben Shapiro suddenly concerned, it's kind of like why Congress suddenly got concerned about TikTok. It's because Tate's become anti-Israel. He says he's converted to Islam. All right, good luck with that. I mean, if you believe it, let's just say I'll wait to see it. The Andrew Tate I knew was maybe not Islamic, but but it's like and he's got the whole, he got big into sort of mindset pitching and marketing pitching and how you can get rich quick kind of programs and policies and ideas that he had. That's fine. That's not my. I'm not a fan of that world. Never have been. And all the uber masculine guys, they're always guys whose dad wasn't around. I mean, that's just God's honest truth. That they're mama's boys at heart, and they're overly obsessed with proving their masculinity because they lack down deep a real masculine identity. Is my own view of them. People can think whatever they want with them, but otherwise, it was like all of a sudden, out of the blue, he starts getting political for about a year and a half. Starts really getting mojo because he got this creative way to get people to boost him and his message. And then all of a sudden, he's getting criminally targeted by the Romanian government. If you have any idea what goes on in Romania, you know that the allegations against him were small change. It was like, you got real human trafficking all across Romania. You got real underage prostitution in Romania. You got serious money laundering, not the Tates. Well, and so as soon as they were targeted, I was like, this screams politics. I was like, you're going to tell me I'm supposed to trust the Romanian government that has belatedly, with the help of the U.S. government, targeted someone after he became political based on something that happened 7 years ago? So I was skeptical of that case. That case has been going on and off. It went up. At one point, the Romania Court of Appeals a couple of weeks ago said that the case was so weak that they were going to release him from house arrest. Then they went to another Romanian court, and the prosecutors got them to revoke releasing him from house arrest. And then there's supposedly the UK government is looking at old allegations to try to extradite him. It's like, why do they suddenly find these allegations? I mean, here's the thing. The allegations are concerning the web trafficking business. The core problem is that almost all of the women who are in that business have testified for him. In all of my experience dealing with human trafficking cases, I'm only representing victims in that context. I have never heard of a human trafficker who all the people that they supposedly traffic testified on their behalf. It doesn't happen. So as soon as that came out, I was like, that's strong evidence in support of him. Aside from the dubious timing, does anybody really think Tate's being targeted now because they cared about his webcam business from 6 years ago? Or do you think it's because they didn't like him politically opening his mouth in ways that were causing them difficulties? It's clearly the latter. It's the most reasonable interpretation to come to. And I am a big believer in constitutional rights. I'm also not a believer in this effort to dilute the meaning of human trafficking. Having represented real victims of human trafficking, saying, oh, I thought you were going to marry me and we didn't get married, is not my definition of human trafficking. I mean, human trafficking is like the movie Tate. Well, no, but it is horrendous and it is horrible. All the allegations against him do not meet the legal standard of human trafficking. Well, that's what even Romanian courts have said, by the way.
This is why anybody saying I'm defending him, they're new to the channel and also just liars. Because even back in the day, I said, like, people were like, have you seen all of his confessions on the internet? I was like, first of all, I know the videos you're talking about where he's talking about this. And at the time I'm saying, it really sounds like what he's describing very much sounds like it could be bordering on what they call the lover boy technique in Romanian law. I was like, I'd never heard of it.
The problem with that is that to me should not be the definition of human trafficking.
But the bottom line is that might be, I said, like, he might be talking himself into a conviction under the interpretation of the law in Romania. But when you think of human trafficking, the cam business is a disgusting, dirty business that I'd have nothing to do with, much like the porn industry. I'm not going to have anything to do with that either. But then it seems like you apply this mutatis mutandis to the porn industry at large, and you've got consequences beyond intended consequences.
And to me, that we need to always, it's like separating the difference between a pederast, a pedophile, and someone that is legally of age in the place they're in. There's huge differences here, folks. I mean, the pedophile is a very distinct kind of criminal. Your pederast, someone that, it's someone that's in their early teens, is another kind of criminal, but not as bad as the pedophile. And then you got people who do things that people don't like morally, and it's like or think is fair, right? I mean, somebody decided that who was an adult goes in the webcam business because they say later, "Oh, I thought I was going to get married to the owner of the webcam business." Okay, I'm sorry, that's not my definition of human trafficking. Human trafficking that happens in the real world are people being literally kidnapped and coerced, their passports stolen from them, security keeping. And by the way, if you're in that business in Central Europe, you're in business with other criminal organizations. You're not doing this, on your own. I mean, basically what happened was there were a couple of British guys, American guys, who there's a huge webcam market business, supply business in Central Europe. That's just the reality of Central Europe, and where it's gone, especially Romania, Ukraine, some of these places. Now, there's a big difference between your Ukrainian bride, male bride, and the Ukrainian person who gets kidnapped against their will and is put on a webcam. Those are two different. To start to say those are the same is to utterly diminish. It's like the Julian Assange allegations, where they said, "Oh, but because he didn't use birth control, there's a certain he used a condom a certain way. That means he engaged in rape. That's the same as rape. That's not the same as rape." It's
called stealthing. I discovered that in the context of that case.
Which, by the way, there's a lot of NBA baby mamas out there that by that definition are all rapists.
Well, no, but people are going to say, like, there are women who are accusing him of violent
problem.
rape.
There's to my knowledge, there's only two. That almost all the women that have any interaction with him are testifying for him. Who's ever heard of this? So the timing is highly dubious. Who is involved in the prosecution, their political motives, and their history of corruption makes it even more dubious. And then the fact that almost all of the women that have ever worked with him are testifying for him. I'm sorry, this is just a weak case. Everything about it screams a weak case.
I just when people say Viva, you're not defending him, but you're seeming. First of all, I start from the beginning. Okay, a man is accused of rape. They go into very, very salacious details. Oh, geez, where have I heard that before? Clarence Thomas, the Tate, the lacrosse team, Brett Kavanaugh. Oh, but Viva, there's medical reports allegedly here. Oh, where have I heard that again? Pete Hegseth. And they go, oh, but Viva, they charged him in this case. Where have I heard that before? Julian Assange. And they say, oh, but Viva, he's on video admitting to his crimes. I'm like, oh, who says that? They say that about Donald Trump because they say when he said grab him by the pussy, he was admitting to assault. And then Trump got actually found liable for sexual abuse. And so you follow the logic through, and you'll forgive me for being a little bit reluctant to jump on the bandwagon. And you're talking Romanian courts, which just annulled an election. You're talking UK courts that are locking people up for words. So you'll forgive me for not jumping on he's a human trafficking rapist, and I'll stick with I don't like anything about him, and I'll see how this plays out in court before I jump to any conclusions. Oh, but Viva, you didn't look at the montages. I've seen the montages.
He's being targeted for political reasons. I mean, there's just not much doubt about it. They didn't care when he was actually operating this business 7-8 years ago.
It's over 10 years, Robert. It's 2015 at the latest. It's 2013, 2012 at the earliest. So a decade.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and so and if you know that industry at all, I had to get to know that industry in having to defend Joe Francis on tax charges, unfortunately. But everything about his business, those were women who wanted to be in that business. They were making a lot of money, and what gave him an edge was that he was not Romanian, that he knew the U.S., that he knew the UK, that he was articulate, that he was smooth, that he had a successful. He pitched the women as much as he pitched the customers. Like, in other words, look at my lifestyle. I'm really successful. You can have the same successful lifestyle. There's a bunch of people in the West that will pay you a bunch of money to talk to you over the internet. And so that was at the earlier stages of those webcam businesses. And now I think he BS's all the time. So would I take anything he says with straight value in terms of his various bragging over the decade? No. You can meet Andrew Tate and in 5 minutes know he's probably going to exaggerate more than Donald Trump. I mean, it's just the nature of who he is. But the allegations against him, just the timing of the allegations, the source of the allegations, and the evidence concerning the allegations all undermine the credibility of those allegations. And there's a lot of people that want to hate him, and they want to hate him for their own. And it's these groups of haters, like they travel from one group to the next and one group to the next, and they raid your chat. No matter what, you figured it out. They'll raid your Twitter conversations about things that have nothing to do with this, and they'll contaminate them, ruin them. They're the trolls that make the internet a place 80% of Americans avoid when they can, and it's part of what Rumble's tried to fix. How do you get the most free speech without the annoying the trolls who are acting in bad faith? And it's like the people that get joy out of Ricada's case. It's like they're hoping that the government gets away with illegal activities because it will justify their own sense of self-righteousness. And that's what a lot of it is. Not a fan of never been a business partner of Andrew Tate, not a personal fan of Andrew Tate, not an enemy of him either. But the case against him smacks of politics. And I suspect that when it's all said and done, the evidence will end up acquitting him rather than convicting him. That's just from my read on it from a distance.
Well, I mean, we are dealing with the Romanian courts, which are
that's the X factor.
Annul a democratic election, but now we trust that. And then
I think that Trump got in. Watch to see if these courts don't care as much in 6 months, because I believe the Biden administration was heavily complicit in the attacks on Tate.
So that nobody accuses me of straw manning anything. There's also women that accuse them of branding them or tattooing them as a form of ownership. And even to that, I'm like, they do that on football teams. These are things that you might regret later on in life. And if there's hard evidence of
and if there was real hard evidence, they would have got him many years ago. And if there was real hard evidence, there would be a bunch of people testifying against him. And I'll hear these people, they'll say, so-and-so is testifying against him. Okay, I'll say, send me the testament, their testimony.
They'll send you video montages where he's talking about hitting.
Exactly. Instead, is like, give me the women that are the victims giving their evidence. Because what keeps coming out, including in the Romanian court, is when the women are asked, they acquit him, not convict him.
Yeah, well, and then the court actually dismissed that exculpatory evidence from the two of the alleged victims. And all that to say, I think he said a lot of things online that are certainly going to help with the prosecution. I think he is. You say an exaggerator. I think he's a bullshitter.
Well, yeah, BS's all the time.
And I don't like.
Real, I mean,
I think that a lot of it is real bad stupidity, like talking about rough sex, talking about women as property, like, and even the way the property. I remember this kid came up and was like, Tate says women are property. It's like, and then I go hear the clips. I'm like, he's an idiot. I mean, his advice is stupid, and I like you say, probably someone who's got some serious defensive masculine issues to begin with, and so period. But the bottom line, you walk through all of this and you understand that every lefty on earth says Trump admitted to sexual assault with the grab him by the pussy tape, and he was found liable for sexual abuse. All right. Now, admittedly, I'm not going to say I'm going to exonerate Tate if he gets convicted. Allow me to be skeptical of systems which presume.
Yeah, I don't think you can get an impartial verdict out of Romania.
Well, or the UK for that matter. But
it was it was part of what when I had familiarity with the Romanian government. So I had various clients that have had various issues over the years and knew that the Romanian government was very corrupt and very unreliable. And I mean, again, they're quoting the Romanian courts or the ones they like, because the Romanian courts have issued rulings in favor of Tate and against Tate. And it's like, it is the same, as you pointed out, the same Romanian court that just prevented the Romanian people from electing their own president. They had made a choice for president.
That was
and the Romanian courts just decided they weren't going to.
But that was the constitutional court. That one's politically motivated. This is the criminal court, so therefore you trust it. And
they're all anybody. No, that's just
I'm not going to Romania.
There's very few court systems in the world that are. There are actually no court systems that are consistently reliable. There are some that are just worse than others. And Romania is toward the bottom of that list, not toward the top.
Well, that's it, people. Clip away and try. I also want to mention this. I didn't know if I didn't think you represented Tate, but I don't ask you those questions because people don't understand also, like, solicitor-client relationship is itself a privileged thing. So, like, I'm not going to, hey, do you represent this person? No, like, if it's not public, you're not entitled to know that, and I don't pry. I just didn't think you had. I wouldn't have been surprised if you did, because I do know that you respect the Constitution more than,
Yeah, well, I don't care about I care more about the Constitution than I care about individuals who may have done bad things.
Robert, I'm going to refresh my screen just because I can't share screen anymore, and then I'm going to come back in here. Let's see if
Viva
I
will
screwed
be
everything.
right back after this.
Yeah,
momentary
right
break.
back here because for whatever the reason it stops being able to share, and now I want to bring up the Crumble rants over on Crumble and see if there's anyone flipping the conniption because we're not condemning Tate to jail yet. Randy Edwards says North American Man Boy Love Association. I don't know what the hell that is. Is a
Nambla, that's an excuse for pedophilia.
I'm
It's an
sorry.
actual organization though.
North American Man Boy Love Association, jail, okay, is a charter member of the LGBTQ plus that was put on mute until the environment becomes more accepting. The new 28th Amendment is a push to make it so. We
will be mentioning.
We're getting
Is there a new 28th Amendment?
Can
According
you
to
tweet
Joe
out?
Biden, there is.
Forced Name Chain says, but aren't those trolls you're speaking of, Robert, with free speech, the canary in the coal mine? I'm not sure what that is about.
Where Rumble has tried to find the balance is to have maximum free speech without letting trolls utterly ruin your business.
I like forced name changes here. This comment, which is a little bit inculpating, is that I like Tate. Forced name. We agree to disagree on that. Romania's corruption is part of the reason Tate moved there. He said so much himself. To paraphrase, he said, "America is corrupt too, but at least Romania, I can try to work it." And if you go, that's a good argument to say, like, he's going to a corrupt country to run a dirty business, and he's asking for trouble. There's no question about that. From Trump signing the pardon executive order to free the Jan 6ers to them walking into their families' arms, how long will it take? How long does it take, Robert? It's not overnight, right? Like, it's got to go through a court system or like at least a procedure.
What, the pardons?
Yeah, if he pardons them tomorrow, do they get out like that afternoon?
Yes, they should be out immediately.
Amazing. Here instead of the NFL. Who said that? Good. Is Soros guilty of crimes against humanity? Yes. Let's just hard yes.
From the time he was helping the Nazis.
Bulgadad says here for NFL. Crash Bandit says, sadly, people with integrity debate on the grounds of morality, while others ask commies, Marxists, and others to debate on gaining power. What do you guys think of the Tate's lawyer, McBride? Dan Vicious, do you know Dan Vicious? Barnes, do you know his lawyer, McBride?
I don't know any of them, to my knowledge.
Robert,
and I haven't had any role in any aspect of that. I've just given my... anybody that's followed me long enough knows I share my opinion, whatever it may be, of public profile, high profile cases. And it's fascinating as people that they think, okay, he disagrees with me. I agreed with him on other stuff, so there must be some ulterior motive he has now. No, it's the same motive as always. It's the Constitution. It's not easy to support the Constitution when it means defending Joe Francis. I get it, but the Constitution has to come first. If the Constitution is in jeopardy, all of us are in jeopardy.
Let me see here. Robert, given the mentioned increase in violence, would you say organized crime families would be preferred over the modern gangbanger cartels?
Absolutely. I had this discussion with Mark Robert on Freeform Friday a week ago or so, that Hoover was right, that we were a lot better off with the organized crime we knew than disorganized crime we didn't know. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, that the collateral consequences get worse rather than better when you move away from, with the mob, you know who you're dealing with. And they had their own internal sets of rules and policies, and you could maneuver through with them. Like right now, the big human trafficking gangs in Central Europe are all Albanian. The Albanians have dominated organized crime in Central Europe to a large degree. They even replaced the Russians. The Russian mob, still has political juice, but the Albanian mob was amazing. It's a small country. Just took over and became just vicious. That's what I'm like. In Romania, there's at least 100 different human traffickers they can easily get tomorrow that are the nastiest human traffickers on the planet, and they're not even going after them. So anybody thinking that there's just some moral principle behind what Romania is doing is living in La La Land. But what is a lot of people who feel bad about their own lives, they go and find, whether it's a Ricada case, a Tate case, some other case, something that they can obsess over. Mm-hmm. And they like division for division's sake, is what you've been pointing out. I mean, Harrison Smith, who works at InfoWars, said the same thing. He said it seemed like ever since Trump won, a whole bunch of people have been trying to provoke disagreements within the Trump community, within the Trump supporting movement. And we've seen like obsessing over Vivek's HB 120.
Yeah, trying to destroy a human in their entirety because you disagree on one specific visa issue. I always knew he was a plant, and he's India first and not America first.
The attacks on Elon. A guy who risked his own life, literally risked his own life this past year to make major political progress for the rest of us. I mean, I can guarantee you the easiest thing for Elon to have done was to cut a deal with the Democrats and the left, and they would have let him keep and steal as much as he wants, and he would be in perfect shape. He sacrificed and risked his wealth and his life and his legacy to do this. So, maybe not jump on him and assume he's the worst person ever right out of the gate.
What have you done for me
there's
lately?
One thing you disagree with him on.
We got Kimmy Hunt says, I have a feeling Biden won't pardon anybody except his family after he takes all of their money. He's pissed and he knows he's not long for this world. Hanush says, hoping I get pardoned tomorrow. Regardless, I want to thank you, Viva, for all your help. To your fans, I want to say Viva is a man of the people. Support him in any way you can. Buy his new children's book. I'm waiting for the fake negative reviews to come in. Viva's a Tate lover. Robert Rocks says, thank you very much, by the way, Hanush, and Godspeed for tomorrow. The Engaged View says, Viva, next Sunday's show, you should announce the Louis the Lobster's first week sales figures. That would be very embarrassing if it's, like 2. So we'll see it. We'll see what the number is. If it's respectable, maybe. If it's like wild, all right. Hail to the king. Okay, I got this. Why does Biden's list of criminal friends come? Okay, we're good. Now, actually, speaking of, and we're going to get to some of the, let me do a few over on Rumble, on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Red Sox 1983 says, I thought everyone had seen the South Park episode on Nambla. I haven't. I've got to get the kids watching South Park. Get them off TikTok. I didn't know they were on TikTok. Get them back. I'll get them on South Park because that's at least a learning show.
Yeah, FYI, you got them off TikTok. Did they sneak their way back onto it?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Good balls, Robert.
Smart kids.
Rockashaw72 says, FYI, Nick Rekieta is having a plea conference scheduled for 24th January. He's hopeful that pleading to cocaine possession will end his legal nightmares. Now, people are going to have to eat a lot of crow when they...
Usually the way those cases work is if it's principally a drug case, that what you do is you challenge everything that went on into the seizure of the drugs. You rarely win those at the trial court level, but you establish a basis for a robust appeal that could create collateral risk for the police officer, because if the police officer is found to have lied, it can endanger all of any other case he's a part of. And what tends to happen is you file a really robust motion. You usually lose in front of the trial court judge, but you educate the government as to their risk on appeal. And the government's like, well, what's this really worth? Is it worth this risk, this? And that's how they cut a deal. And this is how all drug case deals are cut. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that it will be a good disposition, I would assume, and that he wouldn't do much time at all, if any. That because I think he had robust. I think what the government did was wrong, and they broke the law in order to have a case that could create some notoriety for it.
Yeah, but Rekieta, another man who didn't do himself any favors for what he put out there, but.
Oh, sure. But I mean, I never understood like people getting on their moral high horse about it, but putting that, I was like, okay, if you feel we're that strongly about cocaine. Now, people were lying left and right, saying his kids got it and all this. That was always
that the kids were neglected. You could tell
that was garbage. And everybody who put that garbage out should just apologize. But you can tell there's people that obsessively hate. That's all they live for. They live for the hate.
Well, now, but by the way,
for seeing other people torn down or put in a bad position. And it's like those aren't people you like to be around. And it's like disproportionately people who hate Tate, people who hate Rekieta. Have you seen any of those people who are like, that's someone whose voice I really respect. That's someone whose opinion I really want to value. That's someone I want to engage in further discussion with. No, they're all bums and scuzzbags. They're living in their mama's basements. They have no lives. I get it. You're miserable. Just cuss at the mirror. Quit cussing at the rest of us.
I'll only say that this is not that there's no Rekieta got what he deserved. There's only... Rekieta someone will say that Rekieta had done the same thing to others, jumped on like remorseless trolling. I won't mention the name because I don't want anything to flare up again. Rekieta had done that himself to other people in the past. So I'm sure it was a wake up call to what the nature of the influencer space is.
Yeah. So many people turned on him. It reminded me a lot when we first spoke out for Alex Jones, there were very few people doing it. And there are a lot of people. I mean, I lost employees, I lost clients, I lost media access because of my representation of them. And now people have come around to that being a bogus case. It looks, by the way, little tidbit, it looks like the Texas folks are going to settle for very cheap. They're going to settle for what they could have got all the way back at the beginning. Apparently, they're going to settle for like $1 million per person. And so that only leaves the Connecticut people who have admitted their whole goal isn't actually to get relief, but is to try to continue to shut down Alex Jones. it looks like they're going to be unsuccessful in that regard.
Yeah, and I remember initially dabbling in Alex Jones, and people like, be careful. He's
Remember you covered that first deposition.
That's how we met.
Did you know what you were stepping into when you did that?
Absolutely not. And that was the wake up call. I also didn't know who. I like your work, Mr.
For
Barnes.
those that don't know, that's how the Viva did cover the first Alex Jones deposition that I defended. The media wanted to bash on Jones, so they picked whatever part they could.
I formed psychosis. I was going through. That was the only clip.
I thought that was a very nice, honest admission. He was like, "Look, how did I get things wrong? This is how I got things wrong. I thought about it. That I had seen the government lie so much, so often that I got to the point where I was believing everything was a government lie, and that now I have a balanced perspective." I was like, "That's very reflective. That should be what they want out of it." But of course, it wasn't, because and it was one of the worst depositions I ever saw taken. It was tactically and strategically, and that guy was a nut. That lawyer is a lunatic.
Speaking of what the internet mob is doing, splicing together sound bits taken from podcasts.
By the way, that was my first experience. The second. In terms of taking on high-profile public cases where I got exposed to these wacky trolls like communities that only live to hate on certain people. The first one actually was the Covington kids. How these people hated the Covington kids was beyond me. But there was literally people that called in bomb threats, death threats. I mean, I got all kinds of threats just for representing the Covington kids for free, by the way, trying to get some relief and remedy for them. We were able to get 90% of what we were seeking, which was good. 10% we didn't. Megyn Kelly didn't realize this, because Megyn Kelly was talking about how Pete Hegseth should sue the senators for lying, some of the senators who are publicly lying about him right now. And I had a reminder, unfortunately, because of the Westfall Act, senators can say whatever they want, and they can't be sued for libel right now. But somehow President Trump can be sued for libel. I mean, it shows you how hypocritical the courts are, and all of that. But the second experience with the massive troll armies was defending Alex Jones. Those people came out left and right. I'd get daily spam emails, daily threats, hate. People would bombard. They would do fake reviews on websites and other places. They would bombard Wikipedia. They would try to change things and falsify my way. All the rest. So that was and then the third round was when we pointed out that Lynn Wood was going a little cuckoo. Remember that? We got bombarded with all the haters and the trolls, exposing Nick Fuentes, the little cat boy for who he is. That brought in a whole new set of trolls. I think Hunley got to experience that in several sequential episodes, just because I would bring it up to see how many would come raiding into the chat. But it's this community that exists to make other people's lives miserable. There's funny trolls like Michael Malice, right? Michael Malice is a funny troll. He's comedic. He can make a point while being a little bit of a troll. He had I did an interview with him recently. He had the most politically incorrect jokes. I can't even repeat them.
He tweeted some stuff about 9/11. Like, dude, how do you do that?
And he was he was in New York at 9/11. But I won't repeat the jokes that he said, because I was like, holy moly, they were unrighteously funny. They were funny, but you knew you shouldn't be laughing, but you couldn't help but laugh anyway. But it's the nature of the animal. It's a lot of these people who are just on there.
I discovered with Alex Jones, there were two sides to it also. There were the people who hated Alex Jones, and then there were the people who still believe Sandy Hook was a non.
Oh yes, those are the other people that were telling me that I had become part of the fake.
Yeah, and it's like
I didn't realize Alex Jones was Bo Bridges. He was replaced about 20 years ago, and I was like, holy moly! So but I got a lot of that with the questioning the Q stuff, questioning Lynn Wood, questioning Sidney Powell. Yeah.
Is Trudeau Sidney Powell? Is Trudeau a communist? Is water wet, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. That was one heck of a tangent, Robert. Let me do. I'm going to do 3 more in locals because I want to pay some attention here. There's a chat that I'm going to come up to in a second. Why does YouTube Combative show this on every political video? It says it's election nonsense. Like I didn't even.
Oh yes, yeah. They'll put a little warning if you want the truth about the election.
Yeah, you're good.
Click up to here to the YouTube, the accuracy. And if you want to know about how great the COVID vaccine is, YouTube will put a little link there for you.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe YouTube should be subject to suit. I mean, that if they're going to play doctor, if they're going to tell people that the vaccine is safe or effective when it ain't neither safe nor effective. And that's what I'm hoping the new Justice Department reaches out to Brooke Jackson to look at how, Pam Bondi said in her confirmation hearings that she supported a robust False Claims Act, because that was to Senator Grassley who authored the False Claims Act. There's no better way to show that you're sincere about that than re-intervening in the Brooke Jackson case concerning Pfizer and saying you want that case to go forward and want it restored back to discovery. I mean, that's what they could do. Or don't go along with the Biden administration's corrupt. It'll be one of the early tests, another early test for the Secretary of Agriculture at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, who is likely to get confirmed as well. Go out and publicly drop all charges, all cases, all claims against Amos Miller. Show that you're sincerely on the side of small food and family farmers and our food freedom rights. There's a lot of, we're going to find out real quickly how thorough, how aggressive and competent and capable this new administration can be. And I at least am hopeful.
I had a question. I forgot what it was, but we're going to segue into the 28th Amendment is now law of the land, Robert. The Equal Rights Act, which, first of all, just the scope of the Equal Rights Act, is this the one which ostensibly purports to protect women but allows men into women's locker rooms? Is this the...
Well, kind of. I mean, the not in the original sense. In the original sense, the ERA, when it was originally proposed, was to create legal equality between men and women enshrined in the Constitution, even though, frankly, the equal protection and due process clauses already really do that. But they were going to try to interpret it in a way that was considered problematic. It didn't get enough states to support it within the time frame that Congress required. So the way an amendment is passed, either the states get together themselves and the state legislatures pass an amendment to the Constitution, if enough state legislatures agree, or Congress initiates it and then it goes to the state legislatures. Here, the Congress conditioned it. They said, okay, we're saying this amendment will pass if within this time frame, these number of states support it. That didn't happen within that time frame. So what has happened is there has been a legal argument that, well, let's pretend that Congress's time limitation wasn't really a limitation, or that they didn't have the power to make that limitation. Everybody is, including Biden's own Justice Department, by the way, had already concluded that the 28th Amendment, the ERA, could not be added to the Constitution because that was well within Congress's constitutional authority to constrain the time frame in which it could be adopted. You have some, I think there was some amendment that got added like 100 years after its first proposal because no such congressional constriction was put on it. Here there was. And according to Biden's own Justice Department, that was entirely within Congress's authority, which means you can't just declare it passed now. Now, this goes back to an old issue. He goes to the 16th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment.
So what are those amendments for those who don't know them off by heart?
So, I mean, it's all the civil rights amendments, Civil War amendments. So the end to indentured servitude, the end of slavery, the what extended the U.S. Constitution to local and state governments is the 14th Amendment. That's what allowed the Civil Rights Act to even be passed. That's what made it constitutional, was the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And then, of course, you have the 16th Amendment, which is the Income Tax Amendment. And the issue is who decides whether an amendment is passed. I remember having this discussion with Aaron Russo, Hollywood movie director, in his Beverly Hills home while he was laid out in his bed. And he had every kind of unique view you could name, you could mention. And I told him this view, and he thought, this is so crazy. You're too crazy even for me, Barnes. And I was like, the irony was this is absolutely true. The Archivist of the United States could legally, according to current existing constitutional doctrine, declare himself the king of say the amendment is passed, and he, the Archivist, has been made the king with all power. And all power from the judicial branch, legislative branch, executive branch is gone. All state and local government power is gone. All the Bill of Rights is gone. He has all power, and he determines whether you have any rights or liberties or not. Right? That's what the courts have said. The reason why the courts have said it is they wanted to dodge getting into whether or not certain amendments had passed. Like, did the 13th, 14th Amendment pass when the slave states were not being recognized in their elected representatives? Right? So you had these other representatives there, but nobody who was former Confederate could be there. Well, are those the state legislatures within the meaning of the Constitution for the purposes of Article 5, which governs amending the Constitution? So the way they got around all this Did Congress actually pass it? Did the state legislature pass it? Like the 16th Amendment, there were 100 problems with. You had state legislatures that changed the language of the amendment, which you can't do and consider it passing. So, but what happens is the archivist, Congress has decided that the archivist will let us know when the Constitution has been amended. What this creates is a ridiculous loophole. The courts have said that the archivist decision is unreviewable. It's not reviewable by the legislative branch. It's not reviewable by the judicial branch. And it's like, well, on paper, the archivist could just say, Amendment 29 is passed. The archivist is hereby made the king with all power defer. It's like, and we couldn't challenge it? That's nuts. But the reason why they did it is they knew that if they actually allowed a substantive evidentiary challenge, they would have to throw out the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendments. And they didn't want to do that. That was going to create all kinds of disaster. So that's why we live in this world where the archivist decides. So some of the people in these legal theories on the left have been saying, maybe the president could just do it. If the archivist can just declare a constitution amended, why couldn't the president just declare the Constitution amended? And Biden has actually gone through with this. He's like, yeah, I can declare it. I hereby declare the Equal Rights Amendment has been added to the Constitution by Twitter.
At this time, the Equal Rights Amendment cannot be certified due to established legal, judicial, and procedural decisions. But so then, first of all, I mean, I feel stupid because I guess it is not, whatever is passed becomes the next amendment. Why are there no other pending pieces of legislation that could become the next amendment, or is the Equal Rights Act something unique in terms of its status as law?
No, I mean, they were just saying that it would be the next, that enough state legislatures passed it, but they passed it outside of the time frame Congress required. And so the question is, could they just ignore Congress's limitation of that the legislatures had to act within a certain time frame? And because of our crazy system as it is right now, that's up to the archivist. It's the archivist.
But so what? Hold on. So
the same person at the U.S., an unelected official, a bureaucratic administrative official. Right now, our existing law is that the archivist decides what's in or not. The archivist declares whether or not the amendment has passed, and if the archivist says it's passed, then it's passed and it's governing law. So, even if you're like, hold on a second, the amendment didn't pass.
But then
that's how nuts our system currently is. We've delegated all power to determine what is in the Constitution and what isn't to this unelected administrative official. And right now, the archivist has been complicit in trying to set Trump up for the last 4 years. So this should be what I think Biden highlighted is we need to fix the law so that it has to be Congress that declares whether or not an amendment passed, not and the president, not the archivist to the United States.
But hold on a second. But why doesn't the archivist then just declare it?
They could. It's because the archivist's legal advice for the last decade plus has been you cannot declare it constitutional because that's what Biden's own Justice Department told the archivist. And then Biden just ignored it. It's like, screw it. Hey, I made equal rights. Woohoo! By Twitter. I hereby declare the Constitution amended. No, it has not. It will not be considered amended, and the archivist will not likely take that stand. But that's the risk we face with some of these crazy legal loopholes we have buried in our system.
Is the archivist not being replaced tomorrow? Like, how does the position?
Hopefully quickly, but you never know how quickly that will come. And again, the people at the Archives Department spent the last 4 years trying to set up President Trump so he would go to prison. So, these are people that everybody over there needs to be fired.
What is the procedure for? They don't go through Senate confirmation hearings?
No, I don't think so.
So, okay, I'll grok how you replace the archivist. Okay, what else do we have?
I think that covers the top topics for tonight.
We're going to go. There's a ton of tipped questions over on Locals. I'll get to a few now. Bob Soapdish says, what kind of time frame would we expect things to start getting done? Deportations and getting the three-letter agencies in line, for example. Day one?
Well, the deportations, day one. We'll see what happens with those agencies. That's going to depend on them getting Tulsi Gabbard through, Robert Kennedy through, the folks at NIH and CDC through, the Akash Patel at FBI through. You need the right people in positions of power to start being able to make that difference. Some things Trump can do right away in terms of declassification, executive orders, pardons, commutations. Hopefully he does, and he launches heavy and early and often. because I mean that could dominate the news for. I mean, you could have a month. I mean, just the Kennedy assassination files, the King assassination files, the X assassination files, the Russiagate files that he hasn't fully declassified yet.
I want the Epstein files. I don't know why I'm less interested in the potential of the Diddy files, just because it's newer and it doesn't have the lore to it. Epstein files. And then also Robert, sorry. So we had the confirmation hearings last week. Pam Bondi was amazing. Hegseth was amazing. Rubio was, I didn't watch very much of it, but Rubio's good.
How Trump he sounded was fascinating.
Well, that somebody in the locals community said looks like someone had a talking to. But so when do they vote on this? Because they had the hearings. Like, what's the time frame within which to hold a vote, or do they have?
They're already scheduling the votes, but they yet haven't scheduled the votes for Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy, or Kash Patel.
Well, no, they haven't scheduled the debates for them. But now they've held the vote, the debates, the hearings on Hegseth.
I think they have this. I mean, it should start happening right away.
Okay.
Throughout the week.
Let's see here. That was Bob Soapdish. Then we've got Alan.
The odds are that he gets at least one person confirmed tomorrow. At least according to Cauchy.
That's amazing. Alien Baby says the Sandy Hook parents suing Alex Jones are bottom dwellers. I think they're being exploited by intelligence, but
this is by political people. I mean, like I said, it was an FBI guy who brought suit. Who got the
100
those
million.
suits were ridiculous. But
the quantums are atrocious. But he didn't have a trial. He didn't have a trial. Period.
No trial on the merits ever occurred. It was a joke.
Let's see what we got here. Raider Nation 53. I have a legal question for Mr. Barnes. I have a court date coming up where I have been charged with dating a minor. I would like to plead insanity because is crazy about that young stuff. Will I get off? No pun intended. I don't know if all that's a joke. It sounds like a joke because I'm crazy about that young stuff. Okay, I think that is.
They love the. They're like the Ricada haters created like all these different memes. They have me as Breaking Bad, advising you about how you can give your kids cocaine and stuff like this. Yeah, some of the funny ones. I didn't mind the funny ones.
But I got a problem whenever I read tweet or tipped questions or chats that are jokes. I don't get the jokes while I'm reading them, and then I've read the one. He went to the guy took his dog to the pond and was feeding the ducks bread, but the ducks went away because he saw the purebred. And it took me a long time to realize that was even a joke. Mrs. Fix-It Nevada in the house. Why does Trump start cleaning blue states? Red and purple states deserve to be cleaned first. Congratulations on the book, Viva. Thank you, Mrs. Fix-It Nevada. How did the election go? Maybe you'll tell me that. We have a running for I forget the position now, Mrs. Fix-It. Put in the chat how that went. Is Robert still smoking cigars?
Yeah, when I can.
That's from Pantone. Susie C. Looking dapper, boys. Thank you very much. Red Sox, 1983. I thought everyone heard of Nambla from South Park. That was not me. I'm going to scroll up now because I got a few of these. Oh yeah, here we go. Jonathan G94. The Biden junta has been waging a color revolution in Georgia in conjunction with the EU against the new president who was elected via electoral college, and the government wants friendly relations with Russia and China. The former president Salome Zurabishvili, who's a Soros bitch, is pretending that she's still the president, and dumbass Republicans like Joe Wilson, who wanted to put a bust of Zelensky in the Capitol parading around with her. She can be president of fuck off Landia. It's a long.
Apparently you do go through the Senate for the Archivist, according to one of our locals members.
Okay, good. Well, get that person out, and let's see who the Archivist is going to be. I can do that. I can do that job. The engaged few. It occurs to me that the People's March today should have been on K Street if they really wanted to save the country from dictatorships, but that will never happen because if it did, they would quickly feel the sharp claw of true power. I don't think I get that.
K Street in DC is where all the lobbyists are.
Okay.
Or it's known as the Lobbyist Street.
And we got Don's wife, the name I always remember because my late father-in-law was named Don. People are posting on Substack that Trump will be quietly inaugurated tonight because of security threats. Is that possible? They can't inaugurate before the 20th, can they? Or maybe at midnight?
No.
Hold on, if they do that, then what happens to Biden pardoning?
Right. Yeah, no, I think it has to be noon or after on January 20th.
Okay, I'm going to grok that in a second. I'm going to grok that. Rusty Gus says, we want to see the Russia get Trump files. He needs to pants the deep state to the tighty whitey. So, I have to teach my kid you can't pants people. You learn that the hard way. But Liberty Defender, Viva, would you consider interacting more with this is the one I saw, with the local community like Robert Barnes does? Just a like from you on a post or 6 would be a huge boost to morale. If I haven't been doing it enough, I do it, but it comes in like waves. I will. And we got back to the local supporter interview last week. It was an amazing one. Barnes, we didn't have to talk about that guy afterwards. I will. Liberty Defender. Greg 76. What are the chances that Bill Gates, Bill Barr, or Fauci get a preemptive pardon? Fauci's odds were good, but they all seem to be going down. I just hope we see something before tomorrow.
Hasn't been one yet.
Oh boy, let's see here. Oh gosh, I'm following the markets compulsively. What do we got? Hold on, back here to locals. Gray 101, Alex Jones showed Bill Gates boasting warp speed collaboration with Trump on another beautiful life-giving mRNA vaccine. Is this happening in the second term? I would say no, but what do I know? Barnes, could defaults on property tax by affected homes in flaming LA be considered a state takings? I think they give forbearance where they don't have to pay them for a certain period of time, but you get to apply for it, and then you still have to pay it, but like with no interest a year later or whatever after the forbearance is over. The bottom line, there's other expenses that are, even if you get forbearance from your mortgage and property taxes, there's other expenses. You're going to be in a deep hole when the predators can come in and or when the government comes in and snatches it up. Maybe Gavin's EO is just forcing more defaults for pickups by vulture capitalists as silent partners to buy. Keep going up here. We got Gantit for Barnes. I'd like more of an explanation blaming Wilson for our entries into World War I. We were selling weapons to both sides and the Germans sank one of our boats. I think you mean World War II maybe.
He means World War One. I'll be right back. I gotta get something real quick.
Okay, I thought we were selling weapons to. Well, I think we were selling to the Nazis also in World War II as well. Okay, Barnes is going to get back to that one. I am not intellectually and historically literate enough to read that one, Ganthit, or to answer that one. Let's see here, gentlemen. I do agree with cleaning the red states first. If blue states get bad enough, they'll replace their own leadership. Is it bad enough? No, it's not. Let all the illegals flee to Chicago and Denver, says NetChess. Rocky Roads Cola in the house says, great show, gentlemen. And this week, I'll be reaching out business idea with Rumble. My question for today, after listening to the Mike Benz episode, if the United States U.S. aid, which is not aid at all, is an arm of the CIA, and if the U.S. aid is found to be funding progressive districts attorneys, can't this be declared as the CIA operating on U.S. soil? I imagine they're just going to go with the U.S. aid, but they're doing it through cutouts or through third-party entities. So I think that's the same way. Is Barnes here? Hold on a second. Oh, I didn't realize I took up the full screen. I've been reading the chats over here. When Barnes gets back, maybe he'll answer that one too. But I think they're doing it through third-party non-government entities, and that'll be the washing of their hands, like with the Election Integrity Partnership or the Election Integrity Project. No, it was EIP, Election Integrity Partnership. Jonathan G. Shitlibs are mad at Carrie Underwood for performing at Trump's inauguration. Apparently, she knows her own fan base better than Taylor Swift. Also, a better role model than the likes of Kamala Harris. Bob Soapdish. Okay, so we got that. And let me do this one here. Get some of the leftover ones on Rumble. R.W. Parker. President Carter allowed Muslims to hold American hostages for 444 days. Biden has now allowed Muslims to hold American hostage for 471 days. Officially the worst president in American history. I think we could use the word terrorists without, which would, I didn't realize that actually. I didn't realize that must have been what the Iranian hostage crisis felt like for everyone involved at the time. Crash Prone is Soros guilty of crimes against humanity? He is. And then we got the rest of those. Bringing this back out. And now talking about giving more attention to the locals community. Let's do this here. Robert Barnes, Viva Fry from Dapper Dave. Sorry you guys didn't push this back until tomorrow evening. Why? What happened? What's going on tonight? Is there football? I think doing the show tonight will be fine, but I hope they're going to react to Trader Joe's final pardons live on the air. I assume they'll be announced in that time frame. We'll be covering it. And you might hear, look, dudes, if he pardons Sam Bankman-Fried, there will be celebrations of the most cynical kind. Drearier Spider says, I wish this would have been episode 247. Oh, for the second term of 47. I get it now. I saw that earlier. Let me refresh here and make sure I'm getting all the tips. What we're actually going to do, before we get to more of the chat, well, I want to wait for Barnes to get back before we end on Rumble, but maybe we won't. But I must. But we won't. We're going to end it on Rumble, people. So this is going to be the time at which you will all have to make the decision. Do you come over to Rumble and our wonderful above average community, or do you not? The most important thing, however, more important than that, Louis the lobster returns to the sea. Oh, it's not yet coming up on Amazon. Louis the Lobster Returns to the Sea. Here we go. Look at this. I give everyone one last reminder. Shameless self-promotion. Get it. And more important than that, if you want to go to Viva Fry and get some merch, you can do that as well. So I'll give you all the link again one more time, but we're going to have the after party for a bit on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But hold on. What was the problem here? I have to do this, copy, and this should be it. If you want to get it, book. Who is ever? And by the way, we kept it at $14.99 American because we got a big Canadian fan base, and freaking hell, 15 US translates to like over $20 Canadian already. So that's that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can't get the shortness. I'm just going to put this in here. All right, come on over, people. Bada bing, bada boom. Ending on Rumble, end transmission. Locals, here we comes. It's going to give you 30 seconds to join on Locals, Rumble, Peace, and we will be live tomorrow for the first day of the next era of American greatness. Peace out, peeps. Okay. Let's go over here to the chat. Viva, I have my diamond. Oh, Tony DeMarco says, Viva, I have my diamond. You're welcome. Oh, Tony. Okay, fine. Good. We got over here, TJ2 Mag says, is the lobster returning to the sea some kind of Petersonian metaphor? Does he clean the seabed when he gets there? This predates Jordan Peterson. And now, by the way, I've got to show you this. This is just the funniest thing ever. So as I'm, the book's coming out, I'm Googling things just for the sake of it. I put in Louis the Lobster. I dictated. And it dictates, I have to say Louis the Lobster to get it to be spelled with an S. I get Louis the Lobster, and I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh, look, I'm already in, so the book's been out for like 5 hours. It's already in AI overview. Louis the Lobster Returns to the Sea refers to a story of a very old lobster named Louis, who was kept in a restaurant tank for many years before being released back into the ocean, essentially pardoning him from being cooked or eaten. This event gained media attention as Louis was estimated to be around 132 years old, making him the oldest lobster in captivity. Then I'm like, that's not the book. And then I go to the article, and it's an actual story of a thing named Louis the Lobster. I'm like, great. Now people are going to go snatch this up off the internet, accuse me of plagiarism. Then I have to go find my copyright, because I'm like, I'm certain I copyrighted this over a decade ago, because it was when we had our first kid and we were doing a road trip. Anyways, if ever there's a hater who comes out and says Viva's a plagiarist, my copyright 5 years before this story. But it's wild. Last week, a customer ran into Peter's Clam Bar in Hempstead, a town in West Long Island, and tried to eat Louis. That's when the butcher decided it was time for you don't eat a 132-year-old lobster. That tastes like crap. The man offered $1,000 for Louis, even though the 22-pound lobster is missing part of the claw. Yamali couldn't make the deal. It's like a pet. I couldn't sell it. Instead, Yamali released Lure into the wild, where he's going to die. So that's the story of the actual Louis the Lobster, which is flipping wild. So if ever the haters come out and say that's what it is. Yeah, Louis the Lobster is $21.51 on Amazon.ca, says in the Belfry. So we wanted to keep it reasonable for Canadians because the exchange rate is awful. Encrypta says, repost this article or versions of it. Include your link in the book. Affiliate link the shit out of that. Similar stories. Dude, Encryptus, I'll be hitting you up for what that means after this show. Crash Davis says, a new great way to add protein to your diet is to become... I'm not reading the last one. See, this way you almost get me reading something that's supposed to be a joke. Not reading it, but thank you for the tip. Tim Good. What did Barnes say about someone getting a talking to in the confirmation hearings? Missed it. The theory is that Marco Rubio came out very much Trump MAGA and less the... if something happens in the Ukraine, are you 100% certain, Mr. Luna, that it was Russia that did it? A lot less war whore like that and a lot more MAGA. So people were saying he got a talking to. Robert, the question that I said I couldn't possibly field. Oh, yeah, it was from Ganthet about the U.S., their role in entering World War I. I forget what his question was specifically.
Oh, there's actually like mini documentaries that have been made on this. But it's maybe I'll make it into a hush hush. That yes, Woodrow Wilson deliberately misled us into World War I.
Can presidents be inaugurated early? There's someone over on Rumble before we ended. It said they can. Emergency situations, if there were an extreme emergency, such as the outgoing president was incapacitated. Oh, we might be there. Legislative action, practical considerations. Early inauguration would involve logistical challenges, security arrangements, etc. If you're asking about this in relation to a specific scenario, I can look into more detail. Okay, fine. No, because he's got his term. Like, you can't cut his term short if he's waiting for tomorrow
It's
morning.
only like, I mean, LBJ was inaugurated on a plane because John Kennedy was assassinated.
That is certainly extenuating circumstances. What did Barnes say about that? If I were USA Archivist, I would declare prima nocta, says Rakasha. That's a clean enough joke that I can read it. Gentlemen, I do agree with... Okay, fine. And then we got on the bottom here, load more messages. Sorry, we got Danston, $5 says, I noticed over the past 2 years that many corporate lawyers have highly unlikable attorneys. Many corporate lawyers have highly unlikable attorneys. Recently, Axelrod representing CNN comes to mind. Is it some sort of legal strategy when there is a displeasing client that the lawyer appear even more unlikable? My theory is that clients end up with lawyers who reflect their values and vice versa. So shithead lawyers end up with shithead clients and vice versa.
Correct.
Which is why it's,
Especially if you're talking about big corporations, because you're talking about sophisticated operatives that could have their choice of counsel.
Let me see here. We got Barnes. This is episode 247, and it's going to be the second term of Trump's 47. We're live tomorrow, so we're live tomorrow, and I'm also going to try to co-stream at one point with Jake Lang, who wants his part and is going to be having some event going on, and I'm going to try to co-stream that, but not at the same time because it'll just be too confusing. So maybe we'll watch that at the same time. I got Pantelis down in DC, so I'm going to try to get some man on the street with Pantelis and other people. We're going to get a link and maybe make a party out of this. There was a question here, Robert David. I agree with not banning TikTok from a free speech perspective. Free speech perspective. It's a lot of tongue twisters there. However, how do we deal with what appears to me to be the intentional negative impact on our culture? Parenting is what it is. Also, looking forward to your inaugural live stream tomorrow. I think it's just that it's obvious. And like when you go down these rabbit holes when they say TikTok, Philip DeFranco, it's like one of the rare times I actually agree with Phil, was on Instagram and said, look, people crying, you don't make fun of people crying. People are losing their livelihoods. There's a lot of independent creators who use TikTok. And I appreciate that. He's right. But he said, the algorithm is so good, it lets you find your community. To that, I would say, no, the algorithm is so good, it can actually warp who you are as a human. And so it turns people who are confused teenagers into transgender people who tell their parents they need to lop off private parts. So it is dangerous, but that's always going to be out there. And I don't think YouTube or Instagram is any better. And so that's where parenting comes into play. Let's see what we got here. Okay, and then going down, TikTok hasn't gone dark. No, it did go dark, and now it's back up. Bees and guns. It's back up. It was down for a couple hours, and it cost me a prediction. What can Congress do to stop the steal? Can they set a number of days to count votes and declare the winner? I'm not sure what you mean by stop the steal.
They've already done that. I mean, they've already certified President Trump's election.
Yeah, they certified him. Oh,
as predicted. I predicted that they let that ship sail by making such a big deal about how you can't challenge elections, that they were not going to be in a position to challenge Trump's when it came around.
I was going to say something about, I saw a wonderful TikTok insanity, a guy saying, yeah, tomorrow Trump's getting arrested. That's why none of the presidents are going. And so they had to certify.
Yeah. All the conspiracy is so classic. It's the stuff that people still believe is just wild.
It is officially what I would call cope. But like cope in the true sense, not cope in the trolling sense. Like there's some Democrats whose minds are going to be blown tomorrow. I had another question, Robert, about sabotaging the picks. So the Speaker of the House is now not Benny Thompson. It's what's his name? Mike Johnson. I get myself between Benny Thompson, and Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is going to control the hearings on the confirmations, correct?
Yeah. Well,
so they're
the confirmations all just go through the Senate.
Who schedules the confirmation hearings?
John Thune. Is it Thune? I think is the majority.
Yeah, okay, it was Thune. And so Thune, who we were concerned about, people didn't like Thune. That was the first battle between MAGA and Rhinos. Yep. He doesn't look like he's causing any delays in terms of pushing.
There's some, but it appears that the FBI is dragging, slow, like they're being slow with the Tulsi Gabbard nomination of submitting the clearance report, background report. You'd think that'd be easy since they've been spying on her illegally now for 4 years.
This is crazy. I just noticed it. It says, "Ask Grok, can an elected president legally be inaugurated early?" No, it could. It did say they could under certain circumstances. Let me go to tip.
As someone points out, locals, it's the 20th Amendment that says the transfer of power occurs at noon on January 20th with a newly elected president.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that I didn't miss anything here. Pardon Harvey Weinstein so he can make movies great again. Jesus, that is dark and bad. I didn't even, sorry. What do we got here? What are the chances, Bill? Okay, I think we've got everything here.
Well, there's another guy. Remember, there's a guy that everybody. I mean, I was even critical of him. Though I didn't assume guilt. But look at Kevin Spacey. Look at how much he's been kind of destroyed. Every time he gets a case that goes to trial, he prevails.
Because the witnesses keep dying, Robert.
Well, there's that part. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me make sure that that's true. I don't want to be accused of spreading. Did what's his name? Kevin Spacey witnesses really die? Grok is, I feel, it's making me very lazy, but at least it's making me just... There have been claims and discussions surrounding the deaths of individuals who accuse Spacey of sexual misconduct. Here are the key points available. Ari Ben, a Norwegian, yada, yada, yada. Ben died by suicide on Christmas Day 2019. An anonymous therapist, an anonymous masseur he allegedly assaulted. The accuser died before the case went to trial. Linda Culkin. While not a witness in a legal sense, Culkin was the first to accuse Spacey publicly, though she described him as a stalker, yada, yada, yada. She died in 2019 after being struck by a car. But this was not directly linked to her accusations. Well, shit, if it were. So that's 3. Okay. I also
near Clinton death count level.
I also thought, I'm trying to think. I thought Spacey, look, these rumors don't follow people. I say that, but then I should be fair. Rumors don't follow people around for this long unless they're, known.
There's something that's going on, right?
But then it might also.
I wonder now, how true. I mean, why is it that when so many of these cases actually reach trial, he prevails over and over again? You don't see that very often if someone's really guilty. No, maybe he's just gay and aggressive, but maybe a lot of these other claims were never true. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying that those were allegations I initially thought were probably true. That now when I keep seeing case after case go the other way, I can't have that confidence anymore.
I'm going to refresh here and see what's going on the side. Love you. Oh, we got that one. Surprised you guys didn't push this in. We're going live tomorrow anyhow.
Someone mentions the Lusitania related to the World War I. I believe I do have a hush hush up on the Lusitania.
I know
it's one of the false flag examples that I use.
Please talk about the general mismanagement of California's water supply infrastructure, tearing down dams, opening spillways. This is from Ratman29, imposing rationing of years of plentiful rain, yet letting one family... Dude, well, first of all, Ratman, I had to stop posting videos on this because I think I just went a little too crazy on the California stuff last week. I had on Grobert on Saturday. He goes into it. Barnes and Grobert were talking about it on Freeform Friday. And we talked about it at length. It's obscene. And the reservoir.
When you have books by scholars that are popular with the local political class that are titled different variations of "Burn Malibu Burn" or "Why We Shouldn't Let Malibu Burn," it gives you the sense of the mindset of these people.
When does Biden cease to be president? Okay, that's from Sleep Fan. That's
by January by noon tomorrow.
Noon tomorrow.
Bye, Joe. Papa Joe's gone.
When will we find out about last-minute pardons? Who will report them? Asks Gypsy News.
Tomorrow. It'll be reported tomorrow, I presume.
It's Luna, because we got that. And then we got One Day More, and it's a song. Hello, David and Robert. This is from 60 Special. So does the SCOTUS TikTok decision mean that the U.S. government can now tell a foreign living in the U.S. to sell any of their property to a U.S. citizen or be banned from doing business here? Some people...
as long as there's a national security connection.
Because that's it's a fair point. Everybody's like, it's a foreign company. It doesn't benefit from constitutional protections. But no, constitutional protections apply to foreign entities
that are operating in the U.S. Yeah.
Okay.
They're operating in the U.S. Yep.
So okay, that's interesting. And then I think let's go over here. Viva, let's get ready to rumble. So this is obviously from early on from Fast Easy Law. Watch President Trump on Monday. Oh, I'm going to open that. Right Side Broadcasting is going to be covering it tomorrow, but there's going to be a ton of people covering it tomorrow. Yeah. Just God. I mean, I'll put out an actual prayer that nothing terrible happens tomorrow. When the FBI comes out, beware of like what to look for in lone wolf attack. I was like, dude, that sounds like more of call to action than a warning to people. Like, people know what to look for. It's only a question of whether or not the FBI does anything about it. And I think we've done good. Exciting days ahead, says Canuck, with Trump winning. Larva do. Viva, I had a ticket for 1985 too. Thinking back, I would have froze, was not prepared to stand outside in 70 below wind chill, watch from a Holiday Inn bar. No, what I love is I get up and I read my tweets from the day before. I'm like, oh yeah, I went a little hard on those mother effers. They accuse Trump of going indoors because he's scared of the crowd size. I was like, dude, you blamed him for holding rallies in the Arizona heat when people fainted. So they have two headlines. Trump risks lives of attendees by holding out in subarctic temperatures, or coward Trump goes indoors because he's scared of small crowds. It's like, it's wild. If Bankman gets pardoned, then Liz Cheney will be pardoned. Though Bankman is like a wild.
I think if Bankman would only be pardoned if he has dirt that he has sat on. That's my view. Otherwise, he's not. He wouldn't be at the top of that list.
Yeah, and Bankman, like, if we're going by it was that
now,
like
maybe, and I don't think he's got that much money left anymore.
I'll be jumping. I say jumping for joy. It'll be I'll be jumping for joy there. But it's Bankman's in jail, so that wouldn't be the preemptive. The preemptive is going to be anybody who has not been indicted. So it would be anyone on the Jan 6 committee. It would be Fauci, basically any one of the big ones that are still outstanding.
Or I mean, it wouldn't his brother.
Jim Biden too. Yep, and Jim, if I'm looking here, is a big favorite still. Well, he's gone up, but everyone's going down now because Lord knows what happens overnight. Robert, let me go to see if there's anything else that we didn't get to. Robert, can you do a hush-hush on Waco or Ruby Ridge? Asks Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, I thought I had, but I guess I haven't yet.
Nice shirt.
I did one in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, that one blew. This is when I started getting my mind blown, Robert. Like these things, you live in the narrative, and then when it gets shattered, you can't look at the world the same way again.
It's where Merrick Garland got his start, really.
Nice shirt, Barnes, says AG Main 5082. And Quasit, Robert and David, I agree with you not banning TikTok from free speech. However, okay, I got that one. Negative impact on culture. And that's it. So, Robert, okay, so I'll set it up. We'll see what time things start. Maybe if we just say like I don't know. I'll run it all day, and if it's just not dead air, but like, whatever, I'll see who's broadcasting what. But we will be live tomorrow for the next day in American greatness. Robert, we did good stuff. Locals, see you tomorrow. And everybody else, peace out, peeps.